Hokage I can fully level up with one click. Chapter 101-120. Chapter 101 Iron Sand Boundary Law. A chain of pitch-black iron sand shot out from the ground beneath his feet. The speed is as fast as hundreds of thousands of long spears are used, with a stern sound of breaking through the air. Be careful, run away. Matarashianko's face changed suddenly. However, the moment the words fell, Chinyu's hand was already pressing on her shoulder. Don't worry, I really don't care about this kind of trick. Chinyu smiled playfully. The bloody orangutan Yuhi quickly filled his pupils, and the next moment he occupied the entire eye socket. Susanoo. Gorilla Yuhi's pupil strength was filled with the smell of disaster, and under the stretch of her huge body, it instantly turned into a giant of more than 10 meters. This time, Chinyu did not use Uchiha Madara's booster eye. However, it is enough to resist this iron sand boundary law. Boom! The spear turned into iron sand instantly stabbed Susanoo's illusory body. Under the huge impact, even the ground was overturned. Susanoo, standing in the ruins, was like an impregnable wall, not shaken in the slightest. Hundreds of iron spears were easily stopped. This is too powerful. Matarashianko's face was full of disbelief. Especially after meeting Chinyu's pair of 9 Tomo Sharingan, he couldn't help but slapped. The brief contact of sight gave her the illusion that her soul was almost taken away. Is it Susanoo? Sure enough, you are not an ordinary Uchiha clan. It seems that you are the only one who can open this cursed eye besides Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru was shocked. However, without showing it on his face, he licked his dry lips and said, "These eyes will soon become my thing." No, it should be said that your whole being will soon be mine. You know that I got forbidden technique in pure world reincarnation, and you dare to die. I would love to see you in despair. The slightly long-sounding voice reverberated between heaven and earth. Chinyu smiled playfully, looked behind him, and only the 2 remaining people in black cloaks said, "Apart from the 3rd generation Kazekage, do you want to defeat me with the 1st generation Hokage and the 2nd generation Hokage, who are incompetent in combat power alone?" This is a joke. What? Yamanaka Feng's expression changed drastically. Although he knew that Orochimaru brought a powerful whole card this time to deal with Uchiha Chinyu. However, he never imagined that Orochimaru even summoned the 2 Hokages. Haha, Orochimaru, no wonder you called us out this time, it turned out to be a kick to the iron plate. A hearty laughter suddenly came out. Soon I saw 2 people wearing cloaks, finally revealing their true colors. As Chinyu said, this time Orochimaru dared to stand on the opposite side. The 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage obviously became his confidants. Hey, big brother, you can see clearly, this is a member of the Uchiha clan. I didn't expect that such a tyrannical clan would appear during the time we left. It seems to be similar to Uchiha Madara. The 2nd generation Hokage put his hands around his chest, Leng Yuyu said. Looking at Chinyu, his eyes were full of undisguised coldness. It can be said that if the 1st Hokage was an idiot, then the 2nd Hokage was an iron fist. Senju Hashirama became Hokage by virtue of his great strength and prestige. However, whether it is Senju Hashirama's life or the era of the 2nd generation Hokage, Konoha's rapid revitalization is inseparable from the series of policies of the 2nd generation Hokage. If you exclude his paranoid personality, he is indeed a good leader. However, all of this is not important to Chinyu. The 2nd generation Hokage is as true as the rumors, and it's always playing with targets, but the Uchiha Madara you just said, I killed it a few days ago. Chinyu smiled playfully. Impure world reincarnation for the first time, this ninjutsu seems like a no-brainer. But Chinyu knew the original book like the back of his hand, and to break the impure world reincarnation, in addition to using the powerful seal technique, The second way is to cast demonic illusion and let the caster lift it himself. For the sealing technique, Chinyu now only has 2 or 3 minor techniques. To seal 2 Hokages and 1 Kazekage, this is simply not enough. The only thing that can be done is to rub Orochimaru on the ground and let him obediently disarm impure world reincarnation. Boy, you said you killed Uchiha Madara. Senju Hashirama was startled at first, then laughed. No wonder I haven't met that guy during this period of time, so he was still hiding and living. This guy is really not easy. Big brother, now is not the time to be concerned about this kind of thing. Senju Tobirama said coldly. We don't know the authenticity of what he said, but according to Orochimaru, this kid is a curse. Since it is rare to come back, we must clear him. Seeing the dignified second-generation Hokage say such words, Mitarashi Enko's expression changed involuntarily. Chinyu, why didn't Enko explain it to you? Tell the 2 respected Lord Hokage, I Orochimaru is a missing nin. You are the hero of Konoha, maybe they will believe it. Orochimaru's chest injury is recovering. However, the stinging pain on the wound made him want to swallow Chinyu alive. Now that he can be preconceived and bite Chinyu back, it can make him feel aggrieved, and his mood will be a little better. Orochimaru, what are you talking about? Chinyu smiled playfully. A group of turkeys, is it worth my explanation? Kill them all. As soon as the voice fell, Chinyu took a step forward and disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Appeared again and had come behind Orochimaru. What a fast instant art. Orochimaru's face changed drastically, and at the same time as he pulled away and retreated, he shouted in a hurry, you guys don't stop him soon. Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama looked stagnant, obviously buried in the control spell in advance. Suiden, water style, water dragon bullet art. Mokuden, wood style, wood dragon jutsu. The 2 Hokages made a killing move as soon as they made their move. The water dragon and the wooden dragon, which were dozens of meters away, strangled to Chinyu as soon as they appeared. Spiritual art, triple Rashomon. Orochimaru was not idle either. His hands quickly flipped to form a series of spell seals, and at the same time he showed a hideous smile. Boy, you've been fooled. Your speed is very fast, but in the face of 3 absolutely defensive Rashomon, and 2 cage-level attacks, I'll see how you dodge. Chapter 102 Orochimaru, I caught you. Boom. Orochimaru slapped the ground with his right hand. At the moment when the ground rumbled, the rock immediately flew up, and the 3 Rasho gates appeared in the shape of a pin, blocking Chinyu's 3 ways out. At the same time, the wooden dragon and the water dragon attacked frantically from behind, forming a lure situation. The violent scene shook Mitarashi Enko's nerves, and he subconsciously made a move, but saw Chinyu smile. It's a pretty good calculation. Chinyu smiled playfully. However, a turkey and tile dog is a turkey tile dog. Under absolute strength, no matter how hard the shell of the tortoise is hiding, it can't save you. Sage mode. Chinyu's eyes widened, and the clone that had been prepared for a while, instantly dissipated after casting Sage mode. Under the crazy profusion of Sage Art Chakra, it is combined with Chinyu's Raiden Thunder Style Chakra. The violent power poured into the limbs like a torrent. Roar. Accompanied by a roar of the sky, under the blessing of the Fairy Chakra, Raiden Thunder Style Chakra's activation of the body erupted to ultimate. Chinyu, who was originally only 1.7 meters tall, changed rapidly, reaching more than 2 meters. The muscles are highlighted, giving people a tower-like feeling. Feeling the power that instantly swelled to ultimate in his body, Chinyu clenched his right fingers tightly, and the thunder light exploded instantly. Under the crisp sound of crackling, there was no trace of fancy, and he slammed down directly at Rashomon who was blocking his way. Sage Art Overweight Storm. Boom. With a punch, it was instantly detonated like thunder rolling in the sky. The violent thunderlight is like a 9-day divine thunder pouring down. The endless power it contained, the moment it slammed into the gate, Rashomon, known as the absolute defense, sank under the eyes of the public. Boom! The sound of shattering sounded. The Rashomon, which had been struggling to support it, collapsed. Under the shocked gazes, Chinyu directly clasped Orochimaru's neck with his right hand, revealing a playful smile. Orochimaru, I caught you. Sage Art Chaojong flow violent. As soon as Chinyu grabbed Orochimaru's neck, he slammed down on the ground without any bells and whistles. Facing the violent scene, and the blow that was completely unexpected, Orochimaru just had time to show a shocked expression, unable to react at all. Boom! The ground shattered in response, and endless thunder light shot up into the sky, wandering between heaven and earth like a thunder dragon. The earth under his feet was even more overwhelmed, and the earth with a radius of 1,000 meters was overturned. In particular, the formations within 100 meters of Chinyu were directly lifted up and blocked all around. It collided head-on with the incoming water dragon and wooden dragon. For a time, the sand and dust rolled in the sky and the earth, and the three Rashomon lost Orochimaru's chakra support and instantly collapsed between the heaven and the earth. The violent scene shook the nerves. Mitarashi Anko, who was in Susanoo, could almost swallow an egg with his open mouth. Looking at the ruins in front of him, he finally couldn't hold back his breath. Is this a monster? At this moment, Mitarashi Anko finally understood why Chinyu claimed to be fierce and famous. With such a strong lineup, she could directly hit the teacher she looked up to with one punch. With such strength, who can match it? In the eyes of the three shadows, such a resolute attack could be carried out. Who else can do it? Boy, you are courting death. Senju Tobarama's expression changed drastically, and he hurried out. In the eyes of Senju Tobarama, although they are able to play the strength now, there is not one of them. However, let a mere kid, under the eyes of the three shadows, smash the impure world reincarnation caster to the ground with one punch. This is a shame for him. Tobarama, stop. Senju Hashirama stopped, looking at the figure of the dissipated sand and dust reappearing, with a look of surprise on his face. So you got the approval of Immortal Mount Myoboku. In the records, the Great Toad Immortal has the ability to see people's hearts and the future. If it imparts Sage Mode to you, it proves that you are not a person of great evil, which is really different from Madara. Looking at the dignified first-generation Hokage and giving this kind of evaluation, Yamanaka was stunned. This is completely different from the script. Lord Hokage of the first generation, why don't you kill him quickly, leaving the people of the Uchiha family, but it's a disaster. Yamanaka became anxious. Now Orochimaru's figure is still shrouded in sand and dust. Yamanaka couldn't believe that Orochimaru would be intact under this violent impact so close at hand. Shut up. Senju Hashirama's face suddenly turned cold, and the whole person's breath instantly pressed against the Yamanaka wind. The violent scene made Yamanaka wind face change dramatically. Feeling this rolling breath, there is an illusion of being in the abyss of the quagmire. However, this feeling came and went quickly, and after Yamanaka recovered, everything had disappeared without a trace. Haha, I just scare you. Senju Hashirama laughed heartily. You boy, I don't know who you work for, but you're in cahoots with Orochimaru. However, I advise you to go quickly, that kid has Orochimaru under control. The inexplicable words made Yamanaka wind and the others startled. But looking at the dissipated sand and dust, the pair of orangutan Yuhi's eyes were bloody. Orochimaru, whose entire head was shattered by a third, as if in a daze, and those hands that flew quickly. Yamanaka-Kei's face changed drastically. A face-to-face, Orochimaru, who was regarded as an ace by Danzo, lost. The art of impure world reincarnation, solution. If it was someone else, with only half of their head left, I'm afraid they would already be dead. However, Orochimaru was in front of him, and only one cell could be resurrected. Known as Hokage's immortal little powerhouse. Haha, I didn't expect this to be the most embarrassing battle, but with one move, even the forbidden technique was lifted. Senju Hashirama laughed. It seems that the Uchiha family has indeed produced a peerless genius. Boy, I want to ask, my precious granddaughter, how is she doing now? To outsiders, Senju Hashirama is known as the great ninja god. But in the Senju family, he is Sun Chong. Tsunade's gambling skills were learned from him. She left the village. She seems to like gambling, and she will lose every time she gambles. Chinyu touched the tip of his nose. For him, these three shadows of impure world reincarnation might be good. But this is for others, facing Uchiha Chinyu. I'm afraid even the complete Susanoo defense can't break through. Rather than wasting time, it would be better to catch the thief first and catch the king and give Orochimaru a second. What? This fellow Ozuna? Senju Hashirama turned petrified at once. Chapter 103 The Whereabouts of Sasori of the Red Sand. Senju Tobarama on the side snorted coldly. If it wasn't for your old favorite, she wouldn't be like this at all. However, this is a digression. We may meet again next time, boy. If you want to kill us by this means, it will not be so easy. The eyes of the Uchiha clan are unknown no matter how many times you look at them. For these words, Chinyu did not take it to heart at all, and said with a playful smile, next time we meet, you will find that you still have to look up to me, but you will not be able to do it. Goodbye. Snort. Senju Tobarama snorted coldly, but had a feeling he couldn't refute. Boy, let's go. Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama were obviously different, laughed again, and his body collapsed like dust in the sky and the earth. Yamanaka Wind, who witnessed this scene, turned around and ran away first. Chinyu, he escaped. Mitarashi Anko hurriedly wanted to chase him out. Mitarashi Anko does not know who is right and who is wrong. But the only thing to do now is to stop the Yamanaka Wind. Otherwise, let him escape back to the other side, the result is unimaginable. Don't come out, Orochimaru is not that simple. Chinyu raised his brows and directly abandoned the Orochimaru in his hand. The sound of thunder light crackling on his body soared, and the whole person disappeared like a ghost. Boy, you die with me. Only half of his head left, Orochimaru suddenly opened his eyes. The next moment, Snakes of Yuhi, the gorilla, appeared on the ground with a radius of 1,000 meters. The slender body quickly inflated like a balloon, and it rolled backwards with the sky-high fire and air waves. With Orochimaru's body, it was directly blown up. Boom! The violent explosion wave rolled backwards, and the fiery flames directly ignited the surrounding trees. For a time, the whole world fell into a sea of fire. Some big trees that could only be surrounded by a few people were cut off by the middle. Chinyu controlled Susanoo to walk out of the sea of fire. After looking down at the scroll in his hand and the vial, Susanoo dispersed. Thank you for saving me again. Mitarashi Anko regained his senses, his cheeks slightly he said, you are really amazing. But, teacher, is he dead? Orochimaru's whereabouts are significantly more important to Mitarashi Anko. The 100-footed worm dies without being stiff. Orochimaru has developed the technique of undead reincarnation. If you kill him 100 times, I'm afraid he can be resurrected. Chinyu said lightly. After disarming demonic illusion, Orochimaru came to his senses. Just because of his injury, it was obvious that he could not continue to fight, so he directly abandoned this body and detonated the hidden shadow snake hand that had already been lurking around. However, he underestimated Chinyu's strength from the very beginning, so he made a wrong step and made a wrong step. This so-called Big Bang attack is nothing more than a child's thing. Tickle Susano. He's not dead yet. Mitarashi Enko's expression changed suddenly. He turned around and planned to continue his pursuit, but was stopped by Chinyu's probing hand. Stop chasing. With my methods, it's hard to catch Orochimaru, who is determined to run away, let alone you. Chinyu patted Mitarashi Enko on the shoulder. It's not too early, you go back first, I have other things to deal with. Aren't you going? Mitarashi Enko was stunned. After what happened just now, he had already regarded Chinyu as the backbone and was conquered by his powerful strength. Now suddenly let her go back alone, it is indeed a bit unaccustomed. Are you afraid that the wicked person will file a complaint first? Chinyu, I can testify for you. The fight just now was short, but Mitarashi Enko was no fool, and also saw that someone in Konoha got mixed up with missing Nino Orochimaru. Now they are sneaking out of Konoha Shinobi Village, and if they are sued by the wicked first, the consequences will be disastrous. Don't worry, I don't care about this kind of trifle. Chinyu rubbed the head of Mitarashi Enko and said, I still have business to do. I'll find a toad to escort you back. The art of psychic. A series of spell seals were formed in Chinyu's hands, and they were suddenly slapped on the ground. A burst of white smoke filled the air, and the iron-armed toad appeared first in front of him. It's a psychic beast. I heard that you need to gain their trust to achieve the conditions for psychic. Mitarashi Enko showed an unexpected look. However, when she entered the scene, she was stunned. It's you. Iron-armed toad was stunned and said anxiously, No, you don't want to kill me. Looking at the dignified psychic beast, as if frightened, he stepped back quickly. Mitarashi Enko couldn't help but said, You didn't really want to kill it last time, did you? Chinyu flipped through Byakugan and said, Of course I didn't, but I almost took it by mistake and took it to the whole family. Okay, I'll give her to you for the rest of the journey. If you have nothing to do, go back quickly. Leaving these words, Chinyu's body flashed with lightning, and the next moment he disappeared out of thin air. Seeing Chinyu, who disappeared in an instant, Mitarashi Enko stopped talking and looked at the iron-armed toad. He looks quite fierce, but he is actually quite good. It's just that the joke just now was a little bad. He wanted to make me laugh, which scared you. Joke. Iron-armed toad shook his head into a rattle, and said anxiously, He is a devil, and he really almost destroyed my hometown just now. That meteorite is so big. Looking at the hands of the iron-armed toad, I felt that if the hands were 5 kilometers long, it would really show the situation at that time. On the other hand, after Chinyu and Mitarashi Enko separated, they chose the right direction and plunged into the canyon. This is the only way to Sunagakure village and the main road to Kikyoyama. Normal times, the Konoha ninja village will assign many ninjas to be stationed here. However, the war between Sunagakure village and Konoha Shinobi village is now at a fevered stage, and the outcome will soon be decided. Konoha ninjas stationed here has decreased significantly. However, when Chinyu came along the way, he didn't even see half of the dark whistle, which was too strange. Sir, I'm here. A familiar voice suddenly came. Kakuzu was soon seen jumping out from behind the rock. Did you take care of the nearby secret post? Chinyu stopped and landed in front of Kakuzu. After not seeing each other for a while, Kakuzu's breath has obviously recovered a lot. It seems that many of the 4 hearts destroyed by Chinyu have found replacements. Sir, you asked me to investigate the whereabouts of Sasori of the Red Sand. I have found it. Kakuzu explained, he passed by here a little while ago and killed Konoha's dark post. It seems that he planned to escape the search of Sunagakure village and ventured into the territory of the Fire Nation. It's better to send it to the door in person than to spend our energy to find it. Chinyu nodded and said, however, the 3rd generation of Kazekage is probably dead, and the Sasori of the Red Sand may have made him a puppet. 3 generations of Kazekage were killed. Kakuzu's expression changed slightly and said, "Then, sir, do we still need to hunt him down?" Before Kakuzu wanted to hunt down Sasori of the Red Sand, everything was to get the Iron Sand Realm. Now that the 3 generations of Kazekage are dead, and the heart can't be used for him, it will not be of much use to continue to pursue. Especially the lunatic that even Kazekage hunts, it's hard to get rid of. Don't worry, the target is different, but he is still useful. This time I will go after you with me. Chinyu looked at the wood next to him lightly. We have guests here. Chapter 104 Your Talents. Who? Kakuzu's expression froze, and he did not find the existence of the target in his perception. Watch out for your feet. Chinyu smiled playfully, which made Kakuzu's nerves suddenly tense. Ka ka ka. A sound of wood biting suddenly sounded. Soon the ground was torn apart in an instant, and 2 figures emerged from the ground. The 4 arms were like long whips, entwining directly towards Kakuzu. At the same time, the bloody mouth opened wide, and a sharp blade stained with venom stabbed towards Kakuzu's chest. At the same time, another figure emerged from the ground, 6 arms suddenly opened, and the organs in the chest were activated instantly, and a death hug came towards Chinyu. Ninjutsu, Black Secret Skills, 1 shot. Bang! The dark entrance swallowed Chinyu in an instant. Kakuzu on the side was no exception. He was directly entangled by 4 arms, and the poisonous blade in the puppet's mouth stabbed directly into his chest. Doden, Earth Style, Hardened Soil Corners. Kakuzu's expression sank, his right hand hidden in his sleeve suddenly squeezed, and the skin color on his body changed instantly. When the crisp metal collision sound came out, and the sharp blade stained with venom broke directly. Futon, Wind Style, Wind Breakthrough. The resentment behind Kakuzu shot out instantly like a spider web. A cyan face appeared, and the violent hurricane immediately exploded like a tide. The puppets wrapped around the body were instantly torn apart and scattered between the heavens and the earth. As for the black ants that caught Chinyu, they burrowed directly into the ground, emerged from the forest floor more than 10 meters away, and landed next to a ferocious figure wearing a black cloak and lying on all 4s. It's the same as my goal, it's good to catch one first, and the other one seems to be a good puppet. I didn't expect you to show up. Kakuzu was anxious. He had always been indifferent, but instead revealed a playful smile. Even I can't deal with it. It's a fool's dream to solve the adults. Sasori of the Red Sand was stunned at first, then glanced at the Black Ant Queen, clasped his hands together, and shouted sharply. Then I'll kill him first and see what he can do. The defense power of black ants can easily block a dozen or so tons of impact. Black Secret Skill, Bayonet at the end of limbs. The limbs of the crows scattered around, instantly ejected the chakra blades that were contaminated with venom. Stab directly into the abdomen of the black ant. When the crisp metal collision sound reverberated between heaven and earth. Sasori of the Red Sand's expression changed suddenly as he looked at the sharp blade that sank in directly. In his expectation, these 4 sharp knives, coupled with the sharp knives in the black ant's body, can easily tear Chinyu to pieces with the combined attack of the black ants. However, in the scene in front of him, let alone blood, there was not even the slightest smell of blood. Bang! A low crash sound came from the black ant's body. Sasori of the Red Sand hurriedly looked, but what he saw was a fist wrapped in lightning. The cracked sawdust looked very unsightly under the thunderlight. Looking at the black ant who was boasting by himself the moment before, capable of withstanding the impact of more than 10 tons of force. Being easily broken by a fist, this slap in the face was too fast. Can people take a nap with peace of mind? Indifferent voices came out of black ant's body. The next moment, Chinyu grabbed the shattered crack with both hands, and exerted force with both hands. The black ants were torn in half. Chinyu took a step forward, stretched out his body, and looked at the confused Sasori of the red sand. You saved me a lot of time by showing up in person. Chinyu smiled warmly. Come on, be my subordinate, and I will bring you delicious food and spicy food. With these words, Chinyu almost had the shadow of a white beard. However, under absolute strength, I am afraid that Biao will say, be my son, and someone will agree. As your subordinate, Sasori of the red sand couldn't help but linger. I thought you were coming to me for 3 generations of Cage. However, destroying my puppet and planning to make me your subordinate is impossible. I escaped in Sunagakur village because there wasn't even a decent strong man there, and I couldn't even have the desire to hunt. Having said that, Sasori of the red sand opened his mouth instantly, and the poisonous thorns shot towards Chinyu like a torrential rain. Seeing the fast approaching attack, Chinyu smiled warmly and said, that means that the negotiation failed, and it must be resolved with fists. When the voice fell, the thunder light flashed, and Chinyu stepped out. The next moment, the whole person disappeared out of thin air like a ghost, causing the poisonous needles in the sky to fall directly. Behind, Sasori of the red sand, S face changed dramatically, and the voice of the words came floating in the moment when his nerves were tense. You guessed it right, but unfortunately there is no reward. Chinyu smiled playfully. The 5 fingers of the right hand were suddenly clenched, and the thunder light was wrapped around it, and it slammed down head-on. Recurrent violence. Boom. Like a thunderstorm falling from the sky. The huge impact force shattered Fei Liuhu. The ground under his feet was even more overwhelmed and collapsed suddenly. The cracks like cobwebs quickly rolled back around. The debris splashed around, like pear blossoms in a rainstorm, more or less stained with venom. However, once he got close to Chinyu's body, he was directly thrown out by the lightning bomb. It was impossible to add a single scar to Chinyu. Sir, Kakuzu landed on Chinyu's side instantly, intending to suppress it, but was stopped. It's an empty shell, this is a puppet he controlled. Chinyu looked at the big tree on the left with a smile on his face. If you want to leave, I hope you still show some strength, otherwise you can only be my subordinate. You. Sasori of the red sand walked out in the dark, wearing a black cloak, with Yuhi's blood-like hair, which was very eye-catching. He turned his eyes, locked on Chinyu's body, and said coldly, you are the blood-colored Asura widely rumored in the ninja world during this period of time, Uchiha Chinyu. I didn't expect someone like you to collude with missing nin. For Sasori of the red sand, Chinyu's current prestige can fully act as a hero for Konoha. Now, instead of colluding with a notorious ninja like Kakuzu, the subversion between the front and the back is a bit too big. In my eyes, this is a talent, just like you. Chinyu said with a playful smile. How are you thinking, do you want to continue fighting? Sasori of the red sand couldn't help but startled, completely not expecting Chinyu to give such a reply. He and Kakuzu have met, and they've teamed up on some missions, and it's clear how taboo the latter's ninjutsu is. Now, Chinyu has been praised as a talent, which seems to be a bit of a gap. Chapter 105. You are more reliable than Orochimaru. A talent. Sasori of the red sand smiled playfully. However, just wanting me to surrender just by talking is a bit underestimating me. I just got this thing, and I plan to treasure it. Now it seems that it should make you look at it with admiration. For the newly acquired 3 generations of Cage, it can be said that it is the second treasure in the hands of Sasori of the red sand. After all, there is no single puppet worth more than a cage-level puppet. Really? Chinyu smiled playfully and said, I just plan to send him to the battle, let's see if your puppet technique is better, or my forbidden technique is stronger. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, Impure World Reincarnation, for 1 click full level. The voice of the system sounded in my mind at the right time. This is the scroll that Chinyu grabbed when he hit Orochimaru head-on, and the improved version of Impure World Reincarnation was recorded on it. Kabuto in the future, it is not enough for Chinyu now. In addition, the bottle that was found was marked with the cell extract of the third generation of Kazekage. Forbidden technique. Kakuzu was startled, then saw Sasori of the red sand. His expression changed slightly. He took out a scroll with his backhand and opened it directly. There is also a shadow word in the center of the mysterious magic seal depicted on it. Facing Chinyu, who didn't know the depth, Sasori of the red sand obviously planned to strike first. "Come out, my heart." Sasori of the red sand snapped. At the moment when the surgical seal in the hand changed and the sound of gas explosion suddenly sounded, a puppet wearing a black cloak appeared out of thin air. On the joints of the mouth, there was a crackling sound. This is a human puppet made with 3 generations of Kazekage. Kakuzu saw the clue instantly. A flash of pride flashed across Sasori of the red sand's face, and he shouted sharply, "You guessed it right, but you will soon become my collection too." Iron Sand Boundary Law. 5 fingers twitched, and the puppet of the third generation Kazekage suddenly burst into flames. The dark iron sand was spit out from the puppet's mouth, and a trace of stagnation appeared. The next moment, like a pear blossom in a rainstorm, it attacked the two of Chinyu head-on. For a time, the world turned into darkness, and Kakuzu's expression changed slightly. Chinyu disappeared out of thin air and appeared in the dense forest dozens of meters away. Chidori. Lightning spewed, as bright as fireworks, and an exclamation sounded suddenly. "How did you know I was here?" A ninja at the root, his nerves suddenly tense. "I thought that Chinyu's 3 powerhouses had no time to discover his existence. I never thought that the gate of hell had already opened at the moment when I regained my senses. I guess." Chinyu smiled playfully. "In the country of fire, Danzo's claws, Kiba, are definitely not small. Moreover, this is the only way not far from Kikyo Mountain. Danzo will never let go of the ambush chess pieces here, and at the rear, he has all the masters on the battlefield in his hands. What's more, Chinyu's punch that broke Fei Liu, who just now, made a lot of noise. Not difficult to alert these claws to the arrival of Kiba. PFF'd. Blood splattered. The right hand wrapped around Li Guang instantly pierced the chest of the root ninja. Murderers, people will always kill them. Matsuri product delivered to the door. Chinyu took out the bottle containing the 3 generations of Kazekage cells with his backhand, and his hands flew like wheels quickly, forming a series of magic seals. Bang bang bang. The iron sand instantly penetrated the ground. Kakuzu had already retreated with the help of the ground grudge. Seeing Chinyu facing his proud treasure puppet and daring to attack the root ninja distractedly, a haze flashed across Sasori of the red sand's face. This is contempt for his artwork. Okay, I'm going to see what forbidden technique you have to fight against my treasured puppet. Sasori of the red sand snarled. At the moment when the 10 fingers swung and flew, endless iron sand burst out from the mouth of the 3 generations of Kazekage. Iron Sand Realm, Endless Sand Gun. Roaring together, the black iron sand in the sky instantly turned into hundreds of thousands of dark spears. Sasori of the red sand grabbed it with 5 fingers in the air, showing a closed posture, and shot towards Chinyu. This wave of attacks obviously excluded Kakuzu, intending to kill Chinyu with one move. Forbidden technique Impure World Reincarnation. Chinyu folded his hands suddenly, and smiled playfully at the incoming iron sand. Bang! The thunder-like rumbling crashed back into the forest with a radius of 10,000 meters. A huge air wave was raised, rolling up a large piece of dust. Sasori of the red sand and Kakuzu could see clearly, his pupils shrank suddenly. The long spear that the iron sand filled the sky was 3 meters away from Chinyu, and was blocked by the same iron sand wall. Behind the iron sand wall, there is a half-opened coffin, exuding a formidable aura. Sasori, I didn't expect you, this guy, to really make me a puppet. A familiar voice came from inside the coffin. The coffin board was kicked away, a figure wearing a cage cloak walked out slowly. This is the third generation of cage. Kakuzu's pupils shrank suddenly. Looking at the familiar and unusual figure in front of him, as well as the puppet in the sky. Is this a different kind of self-doing-it-yourself? Necromancer. Sasori of the Red Sand's expression also changed. He did not expect that Chinyu would use his own body to repay his own way, summoning 3 generations of cage to confront him. Sasori of the Red Sand couldn't help laughing at the face of the 3rd generation cage with a thin and angry face. Haha, I didn't expect that. You also know the alternative eternal art, but you thought that a dead person in the summoning area could defeat me, so I'm sorry. Sasori of the Red Sand took out the huge scroll behind his back with a backhand, and smiled hideously. Come on, let me show you what I used to kill 3 generations of cage. Red Secret Technique 100 Machine Exercises. The scroll was stretched out in response, and dark figures shot out like sharp arrows. Hundreds of puppets instantly turned into a torrential rain, densely packed and shrouded in the sky. All kinds of weapons, stained with venom, scythes like death gods, and huge sharp blades, etc. In the sun, the cold light flows. The whole world is filled with Senhan's murderous intent. Kakuzu's face became more solemn, and he couldn't help but look at Chinyu and said, as expected of a character that adults like, it is enough to hunt down cage level with this single hand. Snort. 3 generations of cage snorted coldly and said, the dignified cage was treated like a puppet so quickly and summoned the 2nd time, but seeing you is better than seeing Orochimaru. I hate you and Sasori even more, the Sasori who messed up my body into a puppet. And I believe that you will be able to teach me a lesson, Sasori, you are more reliable than Orochimaru. Chapter 106_. Really, it feels weird to be praised by a dead person. Chinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly. I originally planned to settle this matter in a low-key manner, but, with such a fuss, it seems that a quick solution is better. Quick fight. Sasori of the Red Sand's expression froze for a moment, and then he roared with a hideous face. Well, I also want to see, how can you face me with this trick, just rely on a waist, how to fight quickly. 100 Machines Exercise. The heavens strangle. Roaring again and again, the 10 fingers suddenly pressed down, and the puppets in the sky, like a torrential rain, attacked head-on. The face of this dark scene, Kakuzu and the 3rd generation of cage also showed solemn expressions. They said that they were relying on Chinyu, but in the face of this kind of lineup, they would inevitably be a little nervous. Seeing the fast-approaching puppet, Chinyu moved. 9 Tomo Sharingan suddenly turned, and the gorilla Yuhi was like blood, representing Calamity's pupil power, which exploded like a tide. Roar. A frantic roar came out of Susanoo's mouth. As soon as the huge body of 100 meters was displayed, the puppet that was charged from the sky was directly overturned by most of the moment when the 6 arms flew. Looking at the attacks that hit like raindrops, it felt like hitting an iron plate. Sasori of the Red Sand's expression suddenly changed. Looking at Susanoo in front of him, a ruthless expression flashed on his face, and he tore his clothes with his backhand. Correct. Can't do more than tearing clothes off. If it was a woman, Chinyu would gladly accept it. But looking at the lumps of wood, I don't know if there is Sasori with a handle, but he washed and fell asleep. Sure enough, when I faced off against me, I sensed something was wrong. 3 generations of cage's expression changed drastically. This kid is really crazy. His appearance has not changed for so many years. It turns out that he has transformed himself into a puppet. Uchiha Chinyu, let me play, maybe it will come in handy. Sasori who used himself, the 3 generations of Kazekage were obviously unable to hold back. Hehe, I have to say, it's your honor to be able to see my ultimate art. Didn't you say that we need to fight quickly? What can we do now? Sasori of the Red Sand's face was hideous. Your special pair of Sharingan, with such a powerful tool, is perfect for my collection. For Sasori of the Red Sand, everything special, beautiful, is a flash in the pan. Especially the existence of human beings with birth, old age, sickness and death, to retain this perfect moment, only through human puppets. At least, that pair of Yuhi's blood-like special Sharingan is completely a treasure for Sasori. Hehe, if you want it, you have to grab it with your strength. Chinyu smiled playfully and said, however, if I were you, I'd better think of a way to solve this trouble first, and then talk to me about it. Chinyu pointed to the sky. Soon, a huge black shadow projected down with a rolling gesture. The inexplicable depressing breath spread out like a hurricane. The harsh sound of breaking the air gave people a feeling of tearing the eardrums. Especially the strong wind pressure falling from the sky makes people feel suffocated. The strange scene made Kakuzu's nerves suddenly tense. Before I had time to think about it, I hurriedly looked up at the sky, and when I caught my eye, my eyes were split open. A huge meteorite with a diameter of 5,000 meters fell from the sky with a 10,000 stance. For anyone, if they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would never believe it. Boy, when you fought Orochimaru just now, you didn't use all your strength. Kazekage the 3rd generation asked eagerly. In his eyes, Chinyu, facing the 3 cage levels, could instantly break through Orochimaru's defense and defeat Orochimaru with lightning speed. This was beyond his comprehension. I thought it was because of Orochimaru's carelessness. But facing the current scene, the 3 generations of Kazekage know clearly. The face of Orochimaru's battle, even if Chinyu didn't use tricks, it was enough to crush 3 cage levels who were not even 1 in 10, and then took the head from Orochimaru's item. You need a knife to kill a chicken. You also need to see what kind of chicken it is. Compared to Orochimaru, Sasori is a little more likable. Chinyu smiled playfully. Well, if you survive this blow, I will consider making you my subordinate. Abandoning these words, Chinyu released the impure world reincarnation with his backhand, grabbed Kakuzu's shoulders, and the lightning surged from his body, turning into a thunderstorm and swept out. Looking at Chinyu who left the battlefield in an instant, the 3 generations of Kazekage whose body was slowly dissipating, and the puppets of people densely covered in the sky. Sasori, who was in shock, and his face became more and more blue. He thought that the mutiny of Sasori of the Red Sand would bring a huge threat to the village of Sunagakure. But now compared with Chinyu, this so-called threat is just child's play. Kazekage, only the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara recorded in the Codex can achieve such a powerful strength. This is the existence of stomping the foot that can make the ninja world earthquake. Now suddenly another one appears, and this time there is no strong checks and balances. The ninja world is about to change. Sasori, if you don't die and still remember your old love for Sunagakure village, remember to tell Chio to tell Sunagakure village not to provoke this lunatic. If you can do this, use my body to transform into a puppet, I definitely don't count. The hurried voices echoed between heaven and earth. 3 generations of Kazecage's body dissipated like dust. Hearing these unexpected words and the huge meteorite rolling down from the sky, a trace of madness flashed on Sasori of the Red Sand's face. Red secret skill, ever-changing hand. Sasori of the Red Sand roared again and again. Hundreds of puppets moved in an instant, spreading out like a big net. At the same time, his hands were opened, and his wrists suddenly split into 4 pieces, and the contained curse was infused with chakra frantically. In an instant, it turned into thousands of puppet hands and went straight to the meteorite in the sky. Hundreds of puppets, complete with Sasori and 3 generations of Cage's Iron Sand World method. The attack from the sky collided with the meteorite that fell from the sky. Boom! The huge impact force rolled back like a frenzy. The torrent, like a Category 12 hurricane, directly overturned everything in the surrounding 10,000 meters. Some century-old trees were even broken. Kakuzu fled to 6 or 7 kilometers away, stopped, and hurriedly performed various ninjutsu to defend against it. Compared with Chinyu standing quietly in Susanoo, he used the 5 elements of ninjutsu all at once. Facing the impact of this huge wave, he still had the feeling of being overturned at any time in the raging tide. This person is really incomparable. Doden, Earth-style Iron Shield Wall. Kakuzu flipped his hands and squeezed chakra frantically. Layers of soil walls bulge in front of them, forming a strong defensive line. When the 10th layer of defense was built, a shocking roar suddenly sounded. The ground shattered in response, and a huge impact force instantly shattered the soil wall. Kakuzu just felt as if he was hit by a heavy hammer and flew out. For a time, the heaven and the earth seemed to whine, and under the flying of countless rubble, Kakuzu, who had used the Doden Earth-style hardening method, also felt a tingling pain all over his body. After an unknown amount of time, Kakuzu pushed away the gravel that was covering his body. Seeing Chinyu, who was still standing quietly in the ruins, he didn't have time to think about it, and hurriedly looked at the canyon. The sight of the scene left him dumbfounded. Chapter 107 _ In the huge world, the dust that rolled backwards was scattered with the wind. Looking at the passage leading to Kikyo Mountain, it is easy to defend and difficult to attack. At this moment, it was razed to the ground, which was completely beyond Kakuzu's expectations. He asked himself to use all the means, all the grudges and hearts, and I am afraid that it would not be able to cause such a huge impact. Is this God? Kakuzu looked at Chinyu with a shocked expression. Okay, let's go to receive new companions, Chinyu said suddenly. Kakuzu couldn't help but startled and hurriedly looked at the ruins. I saw a figure in a state of embarrassment, even with a broken arm, struggling to climb out from the periphery of the deep pit. Thinking back on the world-destroying blow just now, Sasori was still in shock, looking up at the footsteps that suddenly appeared in front of him. Congratulations on your surviving, Chinyu smiled warmly. Do you choose to be killed by me and then summon through the forbidden technique, or surrender now and become my subordinate? Subordinates. Sasori of the Red Sand was dumbfounded. He was an invincible figure in Sunagakure village and dared to murder 3 generations of Kage. It is also based on its own puppets and powerful means. In the eyes of Sasori of the Red Sand, this is enough to dwarf the crowd. Unfortunately, facing Chinyu's so-called trump cards, it was completely a child's play. I'm willing to surrender. Sasori of the Red Sand was deflated like a balloon. However, as a puppet master, all the puppets in my collection have been destroyed, and I have no strength. Is this still useful to you? Hee, don't worry. Chinyu laughed dryly. The pair of Mangekyo Sharingan turned around suddenly, and the blood quickly faded like a tide. Everything around him twisted as fast as the surface of the water. The next moment was directly torn apart and shattered. Sasori of the Red Sand was stunned when he looked at the 3 generations of Kage who were still standing beside Chinyu. This is demonic illusion. In the eyes of Sasori of the Red Sand, he is a puppet with 5 senses different from ordinary people. Pull him into demonic illusion. Unfortunately, this time he met Chinyu, who had Tsukuyomi and booster eyes. Sasori, I didn't expect you to lose to 3 generations of Kage said coldly. Unfortunately, you underestimated the enemy from the beginning. After seeing that I was summoned by the psychic, there was a flaw in your mood, which led you to fall into the demonic illusion. However, if I encounter that scene, I'm afraid that I, like you, will be completely unable to get out. Facing him, you will not lose unjustly. Remember what I told you in the demonic illusion space, don't let the Sunagakur village provoke this monster. Those words, the 3 generations of Kazekage scattered like dust. Sasori glanced at the puppet scroll that was still intact, and Sasori couldn't help but be silent. The trick just now, is it real, or is it caused by demonic illusion? Sasori couldn't help speaking. When I thought about the powerlessness of facing Tengai Shinsei, heavenly obstacle quaking star, my heart seemed to be clenched tightly by an invisible big hand. Guess. Chinyu smiled playfully, patted Sasori's shoulder and said, if you can't guess, you can give it a try, but this time it won't be so easy to fool. Abandoning these words, Chinyu looked in the direction of Konoha Shinobi Village. He really wanted to know if the current Konoha Shinobi Village would turn upside down and expose his tricks. It's almost time, I'll go back to Konoha first, you guys can be on call anytime. Looking at Chinyu, who disappeared out of thin air as soon as the lightning flashed on his body, Sasori of the Red Sand said what he said, but he still swallowed it back into his stomach. Don't doubt your master's strength. It wasn't just you, but I was also deeply involved in demonic illusion, which means that you still have spare power. Kakuzu glanced at Sasori. I don't care about you, I just don't want you to be cleaned up so quickly that I'll feel lonely. Konoha Village, Seal Gate. A petite figure rushed in from the door. Mitarashi Anko glanced left and right, and found that there were no other whistleblowers, so he tiptoed to the dark place. However, just 2 or 3 steps away, a familiar voice sounded. Anko, you're finally back. Mitarashi Anko's muscles tensed, he hurriedly followed the sound, and saw a crowd of figures, which changed his expression drastically. Teacher Shinosuke. After Orochimaru left, Mitarashi Anko was assigned to the team of Sarutobi Shinosuke, the eldest son of the 3rd Hokage, known as one of the 8 colors of Konoha, due to the curse mark. However, this time with him, there are senior advisors such as Danzo, Yamanaka Style, and 3 generations of Hokage. Hihi, Jiraiya, what else do you have to say? Danzo clenched the crutches in his hand and said with a gloomy face, didn't you say that you have sent that kid to Mount Myoboku to learn cultivation? Just now, maybe it was Yamanaka's one-sided remark, but now Mitarashi Anko really rushed back from outside. This should mean that I didn't set him up on purpose, right? After getting a report from Yamanaka-K's, Danzo decides to strike first. After all, if the 3rd generation of Hokage were to know that he had colluded with Orochimaru, he would inevitably be monitored again in the days to come. Anbu route that has been built so hard will also be destroyed. Danzo, this is just your one-sided statement. Jiraiya said with a sullen expression. I know exactly how difficult Mount Myoboku's practice is. Besides, your one-sided remarks alone cannot prove that he has left the village. HMPH, could it be that Yamanaka's words can't be used as evidence? Jiraiya, don't forget, you haven't been in Konoha Shinobi Village for a long time, this time is not too lenient. Danzo snorted coldly. Enough. Sarutobi Hiruzen snorted coldly. Now that Mitarashi Anko has returned, Anbu, who I sent to confirm Chinyu's whereabouts just now, has also returned. Let's listen to his report first. Voice fell, and a figure descended from the sky and landed in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Lord Hokage, at the garrison headquarters meeting, I found Uchiha Chinyu, who is meditating on chakra. What? Danzo's expression changed suddenly. It's impossible, he clearly escaped from Konoha Shinobi Village, this is what Yamanaka-K's saw with his own eyes, and Mitarashi Anko can testify. Oh, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Anko and said, Anko, tell us honestly, Yamanaka-Fung mentioned that you and Chinyu appeared outside Konoha Shinobi Village together, is this true? For a time, everyone's eyes fell on Anko's body, making her face pale. Chapter 108 The Psychic Beast Dream Taper. Who is he? Mitarashi Anko said as he bit Kiba off. She knew very well that it was Danzo's villain who complained first. Although Mitarashi Anko thought about it, he directly pierced the matter. However, her words are mild, and compared to a big man like Danzo, what she says is probably fart. If it is not good, it will bring trouble to Chinyu. Thinking of this, Chinyu flashed through Mitarashi Anko's mind. In her eyes, it is better to say that Chinyu is a bad person, but rather Danzo and Yamanaka Wind. You bastard, he learned to talk nonsense at a young age. Yamanaka Wind took her down for me and sent her to the torture department. Danzo's face sank, and he shouted angrily. This time, the collusion with Orochimaru was revealed, and it can be said that Mitarashi Anko is an important witness. No matter where Chinyu is, the most important thing is to solve her first. It's Lord Danzo. Yamanaka's body flickered, and he was about to shoot first. Thinking of what happened just now, it was a shame for him. Stop, Sarutobi Hiruzen snorted coldly. Jiraiya, who was beside him, stopped in front of Yamanaka Wind. Danzo, since Chinyu is still in the garrison's garrison, you may cause injustice if you act indiscriminately. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face showed a warning color. Danzo's face sank involuntarily. Looking at Mitarashi Anko who was close at hand, he said coldly, Sarutobi, this matter is about Konoha's safety. With his methods, he can sneak back one step ahead of Mitarashi Anko. To find out about this matter, just catch him and hand it over to the torture department to find out. Danzo, are you crazy? Sarutobi Hiruzen growled sharply, his face changed drastically. HMPH, just think I'm crazy. Everything I do is for the safety of Konoha. I just sent everyone from the roots to raid. Those words, Danzo flickered and rushed out with Yamanaka Wind. Crazy. Recalling the scenes that happened in the Hokage building, the expressions of everyone present changed drastically. The face of the powerful Susanoo, what means does Danzo have to deal with it? Catch up, don't let things get worse. The third generation of Hokage's face sank, and he hurried to catch up. In the face of foreign aggressions such as the four major countries, Sarutobi Hiruzen was already very busy. Now that Danzo is still going his own way, how can this make him calm down? The headquarters of the guard where the Uchiha clan is located on the edge of the Konoha shinobi village. Especially the forest road leading to the headquarters, except for the Uchiha clan, there are not many Konoha ninja activities on weekdays. The courtyard where Uchiha Fugaku is located is guarded by the entrance. Chinyu, they are here. Uchiha Fugaku, standing outside the courtyard. Feeling the murderous aura emanating from the surroundings, I couldn't hold my breath anymore. Well, go back, don't come out. Chinyu raised his head and glanced around. Shadow clones were specially arranged here to collect Sage Art Chakra, one of which has been lifted. Now only this one remains. Can you do it with just one shadow clone? Uchiha Fugaku couldn't hold back his breath. However, he is very clear that this is not just a personal grudge. Once he intervenes, it will be an excuse for Danzo, and even Konoha, to exclude their Uchiha clan. Don't worry, I can do it alone. Chinyu said lightly. Uchiha Fugaku was taken aback for a moment, and dozens of black shadows rushed in all directions. Only you. This lineup is not enough. Chinyu smiled warmly. The eyes of the root ninjas falling from all directions changed slightly, showing a posture of encirclement, trapping Chinyu inside. The face of Abarame's roots, such elites can easily crush the existence with one hand. No wonder they weren't nervous. However, Danzo had already made arrangements for this scene. Go. The root ninja who took the lead, as soon as his footsteps fell, his hands quickly flew up. The dozen or so ninjas following him shot almost simultaneously. Kaden, Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Futon, Wind Style, Daitapa, Great Breakthrough. Raiden, Thunder Style, Ground Walk. Quote. Dozens of ninjas shot out in unison. One after another attack, like a raging wave, attacked Shinyu across the air. Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Shisui in the room. As for the stronghold, a sealing technique was obviously applied, which completely blocked the sound of battle. Susanoo. Shinyu's eyes turned Tomo Sharingan in vain, and Yuhi, the orangutan who exuded a calamity, quickly spread out and turned into Susanoo, who was more than 10 meters tall. The technique of shadow clone, although it can retain a certain strength of the main body. But the power that pupil power can exert is obviously less than 1/10. Boom. The violent air waves rolled back, flames splashed, lightning flashes, etc., ravaged the world. If Shinyu hadn't been prepared and stayed away from the courtyard where Uchiha Fugaku lived, I'm afraid this wave of shock would have destroyed the outer wall. Moreover, as the mansion of the head of the clan, it obviously also has a seal enchantment. Dad, what the hell is going on? Uchiha Itachi's expression changed. When has he encountered such a battle? Moreover, it still happened in the territory of Konoha Shinobi Village. Danzo is finally in trouble. I don't know how Shinyu will deal with it. Uchiha Shisui's expression also changed. Susanoo, who was under attack, the remaining dozen or so root ninjas also moved instantly, their hands clasped together suddenly, and the chakra was madly extracted. Enchantment Adamantine Sealing Chains. A chain of chains made of chakra condensed, turned into a pair of training, and wrapped directly around Susanoo. Susanoo's body was tightly bound in the blink of an eye. Shinyu, this is a sealing technique that can even bind Kyuubi, 9 tails. Today, for the safety of Konoha Ninja Village, you should just go ahead and capture it. Danzo's roar suddenly sounded. Soon he saw a figure flashing out in the dark. His hands quickly flipped, and he pressed directly in the void. The art of psychic. Boom. A large piece of white fog rose into the sky, and the rolled-up hurricane spread out like a wave. Woo. A deafening long howl suddenly sounded, and the behemoth with a pale yellow body and a slender nose appeared in front of everyone. Dad, is this an elephant? Uchiha Itachi's expression changed, looking a little surprised. No, Uchiha Fugaku's expression changed. This is Danzo's psychic beast, the Nightmare Taper. This is a rare futon, wind-style, psychic beast. It seems that this time Danzo is really planning to come, and I don't know if Shinyu can handle it. Chapter 109 Let Go of My Clone. Roar. The dream taper roared in the sky, and a huge wave of air rolled back. Let this piece of open space roll up into the sky with sand and dust. Uchiha Itachi looked tense, and quickly grabbed Uchiha Fugaku's hand. Dad, are we going to shoot? Hearing these words, Uchiha Fugaku's expression changed slightly, but before he could speak, Uchiha Shisui, who was on the side, said first, Itachi, this is Shinyu's business, and my uncle also focuses on the overall situation. For these words, Uchiha Fugaku was silent. He clearly knew that Shinyu in front of him was just a clone. The real him was led out of Konoha Shinobi Village. At this juncture, Danzo will attack, if he sees it through. I am afraid it will cause a lot of trouble. Shinyu, you can't escape today. Danzo threw himself on the Dream Taper's head. Futon, wind-style, hurricane breakthrough. The seal was quickly formed, and the chakra in his mouth was poured frantically, and Danzo spit it out. At the same time, the Dream Taper at the foot also shot. The attacks of the two converged in an instant, and a powerful hurricane wave erupted. In particular, the wind blade hidden in the hurricane cut off all the trees and rocks along the way. The tens of meters of root ninjas around them also moved in an instant. Only this time, under the offensive of Danzo's futon wind style, the ninjutsu they performed was unified by Kaiden fire style. The fire follows the wind, and the wind helps the fire grow. As soon as the attacks of the two converged, the flames shot up into the sky, and even the clouds that had accumulated in the air were directly reflected on Yuhi. Immerse Susanoo in an instant. Danzo, are you crazy? 3 generations of Hokage and others rushed over. In the distance, they could feel the sky-high fire and fiery waves. Hurry up and put out the fire. Jiraiya's expression also changed. He didn't know why Chinyu appeared in such a place when he was studying sage art at Mount Myoboku. But if the relationship is completely deadlocked, everything he has done will be wasted. HMPH, Jiraiya, you're still too naive, now is a good opportunity. Danzo roared. Where is the seal class? Cast the 6 Chiong barrier to trap Uchiha Chinyu. The 6 people who were all around were already ready, and the 6 people who were waiting for the order flashed out in an instant and landed in 2 directions. With the formation of a series of magic seals, the purple magic circle centered on the 6 people was quickly linked to form a purple seal enchantment. After everything was completed, the flaming flames dissipated. Susanoo with cracks all over his body is revealed. Seeing this scene, everyone's nerves suddenly became tense. Uchiha Itachi couldn't hold his breath anymore, grabbed Uchiha Fugaku's hand tightly, and said anxiously, "Dad, if you don't do anything, brother will be in danger." "Shisui, you won't stand idly by, will you?" Facing Uchiha Itachi's request and Danzo's smirk, Uchiha Fugaku was helpless. He couldn't tell them at this juncture. After a quick operation, Chinyu in front of him was just shadow clone. "Danzo, hurry up and remove the barrier." 3 generations of Hokage shouted anxiously, "Otherwise don't blame me for doing it myself." Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had caught the Hokage robe, Danzo's expression sank, and he said sharply, "Hiruzen, don't be so confused, you are very aware of how dangerous this kid is. Don't use your so-called kindness to bring hidden dangers to Konoha. Now this kid is suppressed by me. If you are willing to join hands with me, you will definitely be able to take this kid down." You. 3rd generation of Hokage suddenly became angry, and was about to burst into a battle suit when an unexpected figure appeared beside Jiraiya like a ghost. The sudden scene made everyone present dumbfounded. Eye sockets were almost split, looking at the person in front of him, full of disbelief. "Chinyu, aren't you inside the barrier?" Jiraiya was the first to lose her breath. Danzo's actions seem to be very violent, but a series of attacks are set up, but they are intertwined. Under this kind of offensive, even a tailed beast can be trapped. However, now Chinyu appeared in front of them at this juncture. "Is it too fast?" "No way, you were clearly banned by me, why are you here?" Danzo's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly looked at the sea of fire in the barrier. The target is the other one, Uchiha Chinyu, who is under the cracked Susanoo. "Let go of my clone, what is coming for me?" Chinyu smiled playfully. The small voice, at this moment, seems to be filled with magic sound. In particular, the root ninja who participated in this shot had a stiff expression. "A resolute attack, even a clone could not defeat, this is too shocking." Boom. Inside the barrier, Susanoo in the flames shattered, and Chinyu, who was in it, turned into a white mist and collapsed between the heavens and the earth. Looking at this scene, Danzo and the others were stunned. Just now, they still had a trace of fantasy. Chinyu in the fantasy formation was real, and what was in front of him was just Chinyu's avatar. However, all this seemed pale and powerless. "It's impossible, Danzo, can't be wrong." Danzo's expression turned ashen. "Meng Taper, kill him." Originally envisioned as a means of one-hit kill, but now it has failed. This gap is too big. Roar. The nightmare taper roared in the sky, opened its bloody mouth, and the endless power of devouring rolled back in its mouth. The violent power shrouded Chinyu and the others like a tidal wave. The face of repeated defeats, Danzo was clearly in a frenzy. Be careful, this dream taper has its own space in its body and can devour anything. 3 generations of Hokage reminded in a hurry, hurry up and disperse. No need. Chinyu smiled warmly, and the double surgery seal flew over, like a phantom, dazzling people. The fiery chakra gathered in his mouth, and the next moment he swallowed it. Kaden, fire style, great fireball jutsu. The fire soared into the sky, and a grand fireball with a diameter of more than 10 meters gathered in an instant. At a close distance and with a strong suction, the moment the flames burst into flames, it was directly swallowed by the dream taper. The wind helps the fire grow. Under the eyes of the dream taper, its body rapidly inflated like a balloon. The next moment, in front of everyone's eyes, it exploded. Boom. Endless flames soared into the sky and rolled back with a tyrannical wave. The violent scene caused the 3 generations of Hokage and others to use defensive ninjutsu. After everything returned to calm, there was only a deep pit with a diameter of tens of meters, and scattered pieces of meat, and there was no trace of the nightmare taper. Such a scene made everyone stunned. In their eyes, the aloof psychic beast was solved by a move Kaden, fire style, grand fireball. Although, this Kaden fire style is special and bigger, but it's too much of a child's play. Save people, hurry up and save Danzo-sama. A root ninja suddenly called out. Soon he saw Danzo wrapped in flames, lying on the edge of the forest in the distance. He kept rolling on the ground, trying to extinguish the flames on his body. Sweden, water style, water colliding wave. The face of the 3rd generation Hokage changed suddenly. As a ninjutsu professor, the 3rd Hokage's hand seal speed was like a phantom, and he completed it first. Opened his mouth and spat out a large wave of water, pouring it down on Danzo. In an instant, the flames surrounding him were directly extinguished, revealing a slightly charred body. Chapter 110. There is no shortage of clowns in front of the strong. There was a burning smell in the air. The traces of the explosion and the scattered flames around it are even more shocking. Danzo lying on the ground, whose life and death are unknown, everyone dared not take a breath. As the leader of the route, the first advisor of Konoha Ninja Village, with the help of dozens of people, he even summoned the powerful psychic beast, the nightmare taper, but was defeated by one move. Although this grand fireball is a bit special. But this was too shocking. Someone, send Danzo down and keep me under guard. From now on, the route will be disbanded immediately, and all personnel will be reviewed by Kurama 6 spirits. If there are no problems, arrangements will be made. A series of orders were issued quickly. After many people glanced at Chinyu subconsciously, they daring to stand out. Uchiha Fugaku also hurried over with Shisui and Itachi. Chinyu, don't be impulsive. Uchiha Fugaku pressed Chinyu's shoulder to persuade. Faced with these words, there was a hint of urgency on the faces of everyone present. In their eyes, Chinyu's strength is too strong. If attacked at this time, I am afraid it will turn into a fierce battle. Hee, uncle, you are worrying too much. This is Danzo teasing me. How can I be willing to kill? It doesn't make sense. Chinyu laughed dryly and looked at Danzo, who was charred all over. The world is too boring to be able to have a little gadgets and not be too lonely. Hope he doesn't die. The small voice, as if infused with a magic sound, made everyone's spine shiver. In their eyes, they thought that Chinyu would not be able to swallow this breath and would explode into trouble. However, at this moment, they suddenly woke up. Chinyu never put Danzo in his eyes from beginning to end. Just like a strong man, don't mind a few more jumping clowns. Itachi, let's go. Chinyu rubbed Itachi's head and turned to walk. By the way, the road that Danzo destroyed is up to you to repair. The cheeks of those present couldn't help twitching, looking at the big pit with flames still remaining in front of them. This horse riding is standing and talking without back pain. Haha, Chinyu, don't worry, we will handle the matter here, you go to rest first. Jiraiya laughed heartily. In his opinion, this is the best solution. Brother, shall we go for a walk in the village? Uchiha Itachi grabbed Chinyu's hand with a look of hope. Itachi, didn't we agree to practice shuriken? Uchiha Shisui said suddenly. However, he was quickly stopped by Uchiha Fugaku. Let them go, let's deal with it here. I hope those guys in the stronghold will notice, otherwise your claims will probably be broken. Uchiha Fugaku's face was solemn. Uchiha Shisui's expression froze, and said, Uncle, if one day you are given a choice, will you stand by Konoha, or by his side? Faced with this question, Uchiha Fugaku was silent. It can be said that when what happened just now, this choice appeared in Uchiha Fugaku's mind. However, it has not been decided yet. Chinyu and Uchiha Itachi leave. Jiraiya and third Hokage looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. Jiraiya, didn't you say send him to learn sage art? The third generation of Hokage couldn't hold back his breath. Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Udatane were also confused. Jiraiya smiled helplessly and said, I don't know either. I've contacted Mount Myoboku and will have an answer soon, but I really hope not, otherwise this kid's talent would be too terrifying. As soon as these words fell, the expressions of several people present became solemn. Sage art. That is a legendary technique, superior to ninjutsu. Being able to learn ninjutsu is already 1 in 100. And those who can learn sage art are 1 in 1,000,000, and the difficulty can only be achieved through various practices. Only been a day since Jiraiya sent Chinyu to Mount Myoboku and now. If you really learned sage art, it would be too shocking. Do not. It should be said that it is a monster against the sky, and it is not an exaggeration. Okay, this matter will be handed over to Jiraiya. Next, we need to deal with Danzo's matter. Don't make mistakes at this juncture. The third generation of Hokage reminded in a deep voice. I checked just now, Danzo's injury is not fatal. I think that kid has seen it right from the beginning. Kaharu Udatane said with a livid face. If so, then this kid is really scary. On the other hand, Chinyu, led by Uchiha Itachi, came to the commercial street. This is the second time he has visited this small street after crossing. However, compared with the era in the original book, during the war period, all materials and personnel were in short supply, resulting in very few people who could spend extra. The huge commercial street is sparsely populated, not to mention the people who can consume. Brother, let's take a detour. Uchiha Itachi said suddenly. Chinyu raised his brows, and just as he was wondering, he saw 7 or 8 Uchiha people dressed as guards rushing through the market. Ryoko, today is the last date. If you don't pay the security management fee of 10,000 yuan, it will be difficult for us to do it. The tall and thin ninja who took the lead stopped in front of a store and spoke first. Are you afraid of them? Chinyu looked at Uchiha Itachi. In his understanding of the original book, Uchiha Itachi is not a coward. After all, this is a ruthless man who dares to do even the genocide. Uchiha Itachi was silent for a moment, then said, Dad told me to try not to conflict with people, especially the people in the clan. Don't have a conflict. Chinyu looked at these gangsters, the gleeful guards. He finally knew why the Uchiha clan, in the Konoha shinobi village, were becoming less and less welcome. A mouse droppings ruined a pot of porridge. Even the 10,000 yuan security management fee, dare to say it. This seems more reasonable than grabbing. Everyone, the security management fee has been increasing every month recently. It's too much. It used to be only 2,000, but now it's 10,000. Ryoko is a widow in her early 30s. Chinyu remembered that Ryoko's husband had already died during the first conflict in Kikyoyama. Moreover, her daughter seems to be the little fangirl of Itachi in the original novel in the future. Chapter 111 What a Terrible Guard. HMPH, now is an extraordinary period of war. For the sake of our Uchiha clan, the garrison is always ready for battle. As a clan member, if you don't support it, will outsiders be convinced? Uchiha, who took the lead, shouted sharply. This violent shout immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding merchants and some passers-by. However, in the face of the infighting of the Uchiha clan, they obviously had the mentality of watching a play. In particular, those merchants who had just been blackmailed were even more fortunate, and some even bit Kiba and cursed. Can you raise your hands? It's a time of war. It's good for everyone to have enough to eat. If I pay the security management fee of 10,000 yuan, my daughter will starve to death. Ryoko begged urgently. Damn, you told me just now that you didn't, and now you say that you can come together. Could it be that you don't support our Uchiha clan's guard duty? Uchiha shouted anxiously. So many people are looking at you, you're so cold to our guard team's heart and damage our prestige. For the sake of the family, I'll give you another chance. If you don't hand it in, don't blame us. Get started. As soon as these words fell, the guards immediately became vicious. Ryoko's face turned pale all of a sudden, and she begged urgently, Uchiha, for the sake of my husband working with you, can you give me another month? My daughter still has to pay for school fees, and I really can't make it. Quote. Facing the scene in front of her, Ryoko couldn't help but took a few steps back and leaned against the door behind her. Uchiha's face was somber to ultimate, listening to the mocking voices and eyes around him. A ruthless look flashed in the depths of his pupils, and he shouted sharply, Okay, if you dare to interfere with my work, then we will do it ourselves. As a member of the Uchiha clan, you dare to break the rules. This is a shame for our clan. As soon as the voice fell, Uchiha reached out and grabbed Ryoko. No, Ryoko's face turned pale. She is just an ordinary person, and it is precisely because she has no ninja talent that she opened a small shop in this place. After all, not everyone is as pervert as the Might Guy father and son. In order to become a ninja, they have trained their taijutsu to ultimate. In the face of this group of wolves and tiger-like guards, Ryoko had no choice but to retreat. He could only watch helplessly as this group of people approached quickly. You don't touch my mother. A childish cry came. Soon I saw 4 shuriken blazing out from the street on the left. The expressions of Uchiha and the others suddenly changed, and they never thought that someone would dare to attack their garrison in Konoha Ninja Village. However, in the face of this naive way of attacking, while their faces showed anger, they took out kunai with their backhands and directly blocked the shuriken. Seeing one step ahead and falling in front of Ryoko, the little girl who was only 8 or 9 years old, Uchiha, who took the lead, looked so gloomy that ultimate. This time, he personally led the team, but was blocked over and over again, which was a shame for him. Mom, are you okay? Uchiha Izumi hurriedly grabbed Ryoko's hand and asked. However, before Ryoko could answer, Uchiha's angry cold shout came from behind. Bastard girl, in the public, dare to take action on our guards. This is a big crime of betraying the village, take it down for me. 2 Uchiha tribesmen immediately reached out and grabbed Uchiha Izumi. Uchiha Izumi quickly, and said anxiously, No, you misunderstood. Ryo Izumi didn't offend your heart. You all look at the same clan. Forgive Izumi, I will give you the money. Mom, don't, I can fight. I've entered the ninjutsu academy now, and I can protect you, just like Dad did back then. Uchiha Izumi broke free from Ryoko's arms, and looked at the 2 close kinsmen, her eyes lit up involuntarily. Itachi, hurry up and help me. In the ninjutsu academy, Uchiha Itachi is outstanding, but surpasses other peers. Early in the morning, he became the object of many people's attention, including Uchiha Izumi. However, facing this request for help, Uchiha Itachi hesitated. In Chinyu's memory, Uchiha Itachi was a diamond bachelor. When he exterminated his family, he was indifferent to seeing Uchiha Izumi killed by Uchiha Obito. If I had to find a word to describe Uchiha Itachi, it would be the best friend. She asked you for help, won't you help her? Chinyu said with great interest. Uchiha Itachi looked stunned, looked at the two guards who were like wolves and tigers, and rushed towards Uchiha Izumi, shook his head and said, Dad said, to avoid disputes with the clan, I, as the eldest son of the clan leader, even more lead by example. Quote. Really? Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, I don't have so many rules and regulations. Izumi, are you talking about the genius son of the Fugaku patriarch? He doesn't seem to want to help us. Ryoko obviously heard Uchiha Izumi mention Itachi. Uchiha Itachi, who was still standing in the same place, indifferent, his face darkened. In her eyes, Uchiha Fugaku is the captain of the garrison. Even he didn't restrain his subordinates and let them do their best, let alone his son. Chan disappeared, that person mommy is gone. Uchiha Izumi's pupils shrank suddenly. Soon as the urgent cry fell, Uchiha Kage and the others stopped for a while when an unexpected figure, like a ghost, appeared in front of Ryoko and Uchiha Izumi. Yo-yo, the garrison is really scary. Chinyu smiled playfully. The right foot is like an iron whip, mixed with lightning. He swept away towards the two clansmen. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. The two guards, before they could think about it, subconsciously raised their hands to block. Click. Boom. The dull collision sound, coupled with the crisp sound of bones breaking, echoed, giving people a creepy feeling. Looking at the two figures, like cannonballs, they swept out and smashed heavily on the big tree more than 10 meters away. The huge impact force made the tree cut off in the middle. The two members of the guard team, with a puff, spit out a mouthful of blood, and passed out directly. The violent scene made everyone's face turn pale. Looking at the figure in front of him, with a warm smile on his face, bathed in thunderlight, a rumor flashed in his mind. Yes, it's the blood-colored Asura Uchiha Chinyu. There were ninjas in the field, and they couldn't help but exclaimed. As soon as these words came out, Ryoko and Uchiha Izumi's nerves were shaken. Since the destruction of the Hokage building, the 3 generations of Hokage have issued a gag order, but the fierce name of Uchiha Chinyu, under the intention of Danzo, has already become the incarnation of the devil. Let the whole Konoha ninja village feel at a distance. However, these deeds spread for a short time, and Chinyu rarely appeared in public, so very few people knew him. Chapter 112 The Three Elders. You are Uchiha Chinyu. Uchiha's expression changed. In the face of other people, he may be able to be tough, but the characters rising like a comet in front of him are not something he can casually challenge. Hehe, I heard that you are charging security management fees, and that you are betraying the village by taking action against the garrison. Chinyu smiled warmly. Look at me, I accidentally shot 2 members of the guard team into the air. Am I missing Nin? The small voice seemed to be filled with magical sounds at this moment. Everyone present, their cheeks twitched involuntarily. Even the people who were watching the fun just now became silent. This is a ruthless character who even dares to destroy the Hokage building and kills in front of the whole village. In the face of such existence, who would despise themselves for living too long? Uchiha Kage's face turned pale. Not long ago, he heard that Uchiha was seriously injured by Uchiha Chinyu. Originally, I was dismissive, but now when I face it directly, I understand what invisible oppression is. In the moment just now, he couldn't even see Qinyu's movement. Not to mention fighting. Qinyu, you are too funny. We were just joking just now. As a model of our Uchiha family, how dare we disrespect you? If there is nothing wrong, let's go first. Uchiha said anxiously. The guards behind him also quickly joined in. The young man in front of him killed people in front of Hokage, not to mention injured a few of their guardsmen. If you have money to spend, you have to spend your life. Abandoning these words, the members of the security team present couldn't wait to turn around and leave. Holding Uchiha Izumi, breathed a sigh of relief. However, after thinking about the incident, the guards will come back to find a place. After such tossing, I am afraid it will get worse, and my mind can't help but tighten. Stop, don't you plan to apologize before leaving? Qinyu said with a smile. The nerves of the people present were suddenly tense. Looking at Qinyu with a smile on his face, he finally understood what a fearless, ruthless man is. Hit someone and make an apology. This is simply domineering. Qinyu, you, don't go too far. Uchiha's expression changed. This time he has lost face and become the laughingstock of the family. Now Qinyu is also asking him to apologize, which completely demolished his descending steps. Facing the gazes from all around, Uchiha couldn't help clenching his fists. Stop, stop all of them. A slightly old voice suddenly came. Soon, 3 gray-haired old men dressed in robes of the Uchiha national emblem came. The 3 elders of the Uchiha clan. Didn't they say that they would never step out of the Uchiha station casually? I heard that these 3 people have 3 Tomo Sharingan, the existence of the elite Jonin, and there are rumors that they have the strength comparable to the Penumbra. Some aged ninjas in the field exclaimed. As one of the big Konoha clan, it is the Uchiha clan known as the strong clan in the ninja world. In every era, there will be strong people. It's just that there is a gap in the strength of these powerhouses, although the 3 old men in front of them are not as dazzling as the strengths of Uchiha Itachi and Shisui in the original book. However, in the face of Konoha Ninja Village, ordinary ninjas has Sharingan, and the mighty Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu, and demonic illusion. Members of the Uchiha clan, as long as they have a little talent, have a much higher chance of becoming a strong man than other ninjas. This is also the advantage of Kekkei Genkei. Elder Huo, Elder Long, Elder Yu. Seeing the appearance of the 3 elders, Uchiha Kage seemed to see a savior, with a happy expression on his face, and hurriedly greeted him. However, as soon as he approached, the headed Elder Huo raised his hand and threw it directly. Snapped. A crisp slap sounded suddenly. Let everyone's nerves cannot help but a tight. You bastard, who gave you the power to charge management fees indiscriminately here? I have seen everything that happened just now. Uchiha Dragon shouted angrily. Elder. Uchiha was stunned, covering his hot half-cheek, unable to speak. If this kind of thing hadn't been supported behind the scenes, they wouldn't dare to charge public security management fees so brazenly. Moreover, from Uchiha Shi's mouth, he learned that the support behind this is also related to the 3 elders in front of him. Hey, what an old man, doing this kind of thing will even lose our old face. Elder Long shouted angrily. Now hurry up and apologize to Qinyu and everyone, or my clan rules will serve you. The awe-inspiring voice made the expressions of the guard team members present instantly change. The Uchiha clan has always claimed to be a big clan. Whether it is self-esteem or the rules of the clan, they are more rigid than the rules of the Konoha shinobi village. If Elder Long really pursues it, he will probably be beaten to death as well. Hee, Elder, you are too funny. They should apologize to Ryoko and Izumi. I'm just nosy. Qinyu smiled warmly. No, I don't dare. Ryoko hurriedly waved his hand. Elder Long piled up a smile and said, Is this Izumi? We three old men have also heard that there is a good girl in the clan, and she was really brave just now. Why don't you apologize quickly? Uchiha Kage and others looked ashen. Just not to mention the three elders, Chin-yu, who just stared at them, has already made them dare not make trouble. Everyone looked at each other with unwillingness on their faces, but they bowed their heads and apologized. I'm sorry, we've gone too far, this will never happen in the future. Really apologize. The merchants present were stunned. Looking at the usually arrogant guards, they took the initiative to lower their arrogant heads. For them, this was simply unexpected. Hee, Chin-yu, do you think this is the case? Elder Long said with a smile on his face. I will guarantee that there will never be such a problem of illegally charging management fees. According to the original market regular pricing. Quote. It can be said that the power has been superseded and transferred to the suburbs. The marginalized Uchiha family, the so-called garrison work, is similar to the current patrol police and urban management. Manage street security and so on, the real executive power no longer exists. It is for this reason that the dissatisfaction of the Uchiha clan has grown stronger. In order to avoid the final detonation of the conflict, the three generations of Hokage have always adopted the Wairo policy and turned a blind eye to such excessive management fees. It's just that people didn't expect that Uchiha Kage planned to make a fortune in the war, and at this juncture, the management fee that was originally 2,000 yuan was suddenly raised to 10,000 taels. This kind of high-priced management fee requires 7 or 8 tasks to be put in the ninja to be able to collect enough, not to mention the lonely Ryoko. Since the elders are all asking for mercy, if I still bite, I don't seem to give the elders face. Chin-yu said with a smile. However, I'm still making a fool of myself. I'll cover this store in the future. Don't let me see forced buying and selling, otherwise I don't mind killing a few more people. The faint voice of words fell, and the next moment, the violent murderous aura rolled back on Chin-yu's body like a frenzy. Chapter 113. Do you want to be the patriarch? A powerful murderous aura swept through the audience like a hurricane. Some people with slightly inferior strength, and even ordinary people, heard a roar in their minds. Uchiha Kage and the others who were suppressed by Chin-yu's breath, his face turned pale, and with a thud, he couldn't help falling to the ground. While his forehead was covered in cold sweat, his gaze towards Chin-yu was full of horror. At that moment just now, it gave them the feeling that they were in the midst of a raging wave. Like a small boat that could capsize at any time, as long as Chin-yu had a thought, they would surely die. However, it's not their fault. With Chin-yu's control over Mangekyo Sharingan now, as well as his strong mental willpower, just one look is enough to be as powerful as the murderous aura released by Orochimaru in the original book. Especially with the superposition of the power of the booster eye, the threat of the spirit is definitely not as simple as 1 + 1. Chin-yu, don't be impulsive, I think they will understand, and I will never trouble them in the future. Elder Long's expression was stagnant, and he rushed to relieve the siege. The sudden burst of breath just now was also tense for him, giving him the illusion of being under death. If Chin-yu hadn't dissipated this murderous intention in time, I'm afraid at that moment, he could not help but retreat and pull away enough safety distance. Hee, Elder Long, you are really out there, I just remind you, you don't have to take it to heart. Chin-yu patted Elder Long on the shoulder and said, it's all gone. Seeing such a move that did not take seniority into consideration at all, the three elders' cheeks couldn't help twitching. However, when he thought of the purpose of this time, he still held back his unhappiness. Cage you to go back to the station first, this time you will be punished. Elder Long scolded. However, in the face of this painless scolding, the members of the guard team quickly fled this ghost place. In their eyes, the clan rules can still be perfunctory. But in the face of blood-colored Asura Chin-yu, it was like walking on thin ice, and he lost his life accidentally. Watching the group of guards flee, the surrounding merchants also suppressed their curiosity, glanced at Qin Yu in horror, then turned and left. Seeing that the huge street was suddenly empty, Qin Yu looked at the three elders with great interest, and said, "There is nothing to do without going to the Three Treasures Hall." The three elders came out of the clan on purpose. Don't tell me it's for the sake of the style of punishing the garrison. Quote, "You bastard, Qin Yu, don't go too far. We can be regarded as the elders of the clan. In front of outsiders, we will give you face, so now you should maintain the due respect for the elders." Elder Yu, who has not spoken, suddenly scolded. In the eyes of Uchiha Yu, they are the heritage of the Uchiha clan. An old house where a treasure. This is the capital of relying on the old to sell the old. Idiot. Qin Yu rolled his eyes and said, "Itachi, are you hungry too? Let's go." Idiot. Ryoko and Uchiha Izumi were stunned. In their eyes, the elders are superior. If Konoha advisors are compared, what are they more afraid of than elders? That must be the elder of the Uchiha clan. Qin Yu, you. Elder Yu suddenly exploded with anger, but was interrupted by Elder Huo, who was silent and did not speak. Among the three elders, Elder Huo is known as the Great Elder. With his turbid old eyes, he clenched the crutches in his hand after reflecting Qin Yu's figure, and said, "Qin Yu, are you interested in becoming the patriarch?" A small voice swept the audience like a hurricane. Uchiha Itachi's steps stiffened, and even Ryoko and Uchiha Izumi's expressions froze. For them, this amount of information is a bit large. As the head of the clan, Uchiha Fugaku has been in power for a long time, and he has been doing things without much fault. However, it has been adhering to the principle of moderation, which makes many radical Uchiha people feel dissatisfied. It's just that Uchiha Fugaku's strength has always been stronger than when the three elders were young. It can definitely be called the first person in the same generation. Therefore, only he is qualified for the position of the patriarch. However, now Uchiha Qin Yu's bloody Asura name is rising like a comet. Famous on the battlefield spread far and wide. Hokage building in the Konoha ninja village. Just now, he pressed Danzo's head and burned his body with fire, and his life and death are uncertain. With these numerous achievements, it is still possible not to be investigated and suppressed. This is something that the three elders can't imagine. It is for this reason that after they got the information, they rushed here quickly. Patriarch. Qin Yu raised his brows. Although he expected it, he didn't expect these three old men to come to the door so quickly. Yes. Uchiha Dragon nodded and said in a deep voice, "As long as you are willing, we can recommend you to become the patriarch and compete for the next Hokage seat. With your aptitude, strength and means, plus the heritage accumulated by our Uchiha clan, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." The slightly long-sounding voice, which can be called a sweet pastry, made Uchiha Itachi, Ryoko, and Uchiha Izumi's faces change dramatically. This is rebellion. Overthrow the current patriarch and let Uchiha Qin Yu take over. This is a great shame for any patriarch. No one will accept such results. For a time, Uchiha Itachi and Ryoko clenched their hands subconsciously. Looking at the 15 or 6-year-old boy in front of him, he was unexpectedly recommended as the patriarch. If you hadn't heard it with your own ears, you'd be willing to believe it was all true. Sorry, I'm not interested in the matter of the patriarch or not. As for Hokage, that kind of trouble is a lot. I still like to wash and sleep. Qin Yu smiled warmly. Also, I don't like to be even more human puppets. Since the three elders have nothing else to do, please come back. You. Uchiha Yu suddenly became angry. However, he was quickly stopped by Elder Huo's detective and said, "We are also advocating this matter, and you don't have to object too quickly. It's not too early. The three old bones of us still have things to deal with, so we left first." Abandoning these words, Uchiha took the lead to turn around and lead the team away. After Elder Yu glared at Chin-yu, he quickly followed. As the three of them left, the field became empty. Chapter 114 The Combination of Ninjutsu and Cooking. "Brother, do you really not want to be the patriarch? If you want, I can try to persuade Dad to give you the position, as long as you don't do it." Uchiha Itachi couldn't hold back. It was learned from the mouth of Uchiha Fugaku that he, Shisui and Namikaze Minato joined forces. But even the corner of Chin-yu's clothes could not be touched, if he really grabbed it. Uchiha Fugaku voluntarily abdicates, which is better than being embarrassed in public. What's so good about this patriarch's position? There are a lot of troubles, and I have to take into account the goddamn family dignity of those guys, so I don't want it. Chin-yu rolled his eyes and said, "Only your dad would take this kind of shit up. Body. Aren't you hungry? Let's find something to eat." Looking at Chin-yu, who didn't care about the position of the patriarch, Uchiha Itachi, Ryoko and the others were stunned. "Mom, aren't we going to cook? It's better to keep Itachi and the others to eat," Uchiha Izumi said anxiously. His gaze subconsciously crossed Itachi and landed on Chin-yu. Liangzi was slightly startled, with a hint of hesitation on his face, and said, "Chin-yu, thank you for saving our mother and daughter, but I don't have anything good to entertain at my house, only an old hen. I hope you don't take offense." Uchiha Itachi was clearly aware of the situation at Ryoko's house, and subconsciously looked at Chin-yu. "Do you guys make medicinal herbs?" Chin-yu raised his brows, looking a little surprised at the medicinal herbs scattered around. In the original work, the hospitals that appear are mostly medical ninjas and Western medicine. Rarely does this herb appear. Even if there are, many are already sold as pills. Now all the medical ninjas in the village are on the front line. I happen to be in the hospital and I know the distribution of some herbs, so I found time to dig some herbs in the forest and opened this small shop to get a good meal. Liangzi squatted pick up scattered herbs on the ground. Chin-yu raised his brows and met Uchiha Izumi's gaze, causing her Yuhi to bow her head hurriedly. "Do you really mind if we stay for dinner?" Uchiha Izumi's cheeks slightly Yuhi nodded and said, "I hope to, thank you." "Then leave this meal to me." Chin-yu reached out and rubbed Uchiha Izumi's head, making her whole body stiff like an electric shock. It was the first time that she was violated by someone other than her mother. Can you do it?" Ryoko couldn't help but startled. In her eyes, the Uchiha family has always been stronger, especially men, and they are even more dismissive of cooking and housework. For someone like Chin-yu who took the initiative to ask to cook, it was the first time I saw him. "I can't help it, I'm stubborn, I'm not used to your food." Chin-yu smiled genially. "For miso soups, salted soup bases, etc. Chin-yu, who really does not suit the taste of Chinese people." Watching Chin-yu quickly bring the old hen raised at the door into the back kitchen, Liangzi couldn't help but look at Itachi. "Itachi, does your brother really know how to cook? Why don't you let my mother do it? She also cooked for people in the hospital." Uchiha Izumi couldn't hold back. Liangzi also had an urgent look on his face, not to mention whether Chin-yu was a guest or not. But if she let the only old hen in her family go to waste, this made it difficult for them to gather any more food to thank Chin-yu. Uchiha Itachi looked hesitant and hesitantly said, "I don't know either, but I heard that my brother's cooking skills are better than Ichiraku ramen. Minato-sama also said that if I hadn't been delayed by ninjas, I'm afraid even Ichiraku ramen would be incomparable in terms of cooking skills." "You can't even beat the old man." Uchiha Izumi was stunned for a moment, then curled his lips. "Itachi, I didn't expect you to lie. In this commercial street, Ichiraku ramen is the most popular yuhi shop." "Yes, Izumi is right, you little brat came to my shop last time, why are you talking bad things behind your back again?" A female voice came from behind. Uchiha Itachi's expression froze, and he saw Ayame came running at an unknown time. Looking at the aggressive little girl, Uchiha Itachi said with a livid face, "This is what they said, I don't know." HMPH, disgusting. Ayame glared and said, "I won't welcome you in the future. Izumi, next time I'll find you. 3 generations of Hokage are visiting my ramen shop today. Even 3 generations have come to patronize, and some people say that our family's ramen is not, hee. Leaving those words behind, Ayame turned around and ran back to the store. Looking at the storefronts that are only 4 rooms apart, I can already see the hand fights. Uchiha Itachi knew that this time it was out of his mouth. Itachi, don't take it to heart, Ayame is not malicious. Uchiha Izumi explained in a hurry. Also, is your brother really okay? If not, I have a little money and can invite you to eat Ichiraku ramen. I'm afraid it's not good. Brother rarely cooks. Uchiha Itachi hesitated. Looking at these 2 hairy children with a worried look on their faces, Liangzi smiled sweetly and said, "Okay, Chinyu is our honorable guest, how can you show such an expression? Let's go in and help. If we help, we might be able to make a delicious meal." Hearing this suggestion, Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Izumi looked at each other with a deadly look. In Itachi's eyes, even if Chinyu's cooked food is too difficult to swallow, for the majesty and face of his brother, he must be wiped out. People fight for a breath, Buddha fights for a breath of incense. Ayame of Ichiraku ramen must not be underestimated. Seeing that the momentum was completely different for a moment, like Itachi who was going to die, Uchiha Izumi and Ryoko couldn't help but be stunned. With their own thoughts, the 3 of them pushed open the door of the kitchen, and when they entered the scene, their pupils shrank suddenly. Looking at the hen that had been bled and dehaired in just a few minutes, Chinyu threw it into the sky. With a swipe of the kitchen knife with his right hand, the lightning flashed by as fast as lightning. It's sizzling. The hen was split and opened in an instant, turning into a large piece, with traces of purple arcs circulating on it, locking in the gravy it should have, and exuding a meaty smell. Kaden fire style palm fire. Chinyu's right hand was full of fire, and the fiery flame was entangled in the palm of his hand, and then he pressed it on the clay pot beside him. The water that was originally boiled on a warm fire boiled in an instant, and the speed was astonishing. Is this a combination of ninjutsu and cooking? Ryoko exclaimed. This scene in front of her was the first time she had encountered it. In particular, the neat and tidy method is even more dazzling and dazzling. At this moment, there was a hint of urgency in Ryoko's heart. She desperately wanted to confirm whether Chinyu was really like Konoha Yellow Flash, Namikaze Minato said. On top of cooking skills, Ichiraku ramen can be beaten. Chapter 115 _ Brother, you boil the water, what are you going to cook? Miso soup. Uchiha Itachi couldn't help it. Ayame came here just now. Uchiha Itachi, who was hesitant to speak, Chinyu smiled dryly. I heard it all, Aunt Liangzi, do you have any noodles at home? Noodle. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Ryoko's face. During the late period of the war, the business was not too bad. Most of the food that could be found was sent to the front line. This has greatly increased the price of flour. She and Uchiha Izumi still eat wild vegetables and some coarse grains most of the time. Isn't it? Chinyu frowned, not thinking that the dignified Konoha ninja village would be in such a difficult situation under the chaos of war. Although it may be only a minority, it also represents the living index of the lower class people. Chinyu, I still have some money here, I'll buy some back. Ryoko scraped a few coins from her body and handed it to Uchiha Izumi. Seeing this scene, Chinyu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose and said, no need, someone will send it after a while. Boil this soup first. Someone will send it. Leonzi and the others couldn't help but startled. Uchiha Itachi couldn't hold his breath and said, "Brother, who did you send it to? Why don't I go back and get some? I remember there are many at home." Looking at the stupid son of the landlord's family, Chinyu felt helpless. Uchiha Itachi, who was still very smart, turned on the halo of a silly son after meeting him. This is probably the education problem. In the original book, Uchiha Itachi appears to be very independent under the pressure education method of Uchiha Fugaku. However, now, because of Chinyu's appearance, Uchiha Itachi has more support. When the elder brother becomes the one who relies on the elder brother, then the end is to become Uchiha Sasuke. This kind of elder brother treasure exists. It seems that this disease has time to be cured. Isn't it a show of showing off in front of the poor to say that there are many in the family? No need, you can just watch it here. Chinyu reluctantly lifted the lid of the pot. A tantalizing refreshing scent that opens with steam. Mom, isn't this the peach we picked a few days ago? Uchiha Izumi said anxiously. Isn't this a medicinal herb? How can it be used for cooking, and the fragrance smells very good? This is the main ingredient for my cooking, chicken soaked in 5-finger peach. Chinyu smiled warmly and put the chicken cut into large pieces into the pot. This so-called 5-fingered peach is not a real peach. It's just a mulberry plant with leaves that look like 5 fingers and fruits that look like peach, only the size of a finger. After watching Chinyu immerse the chicken in hot water, he quickly turned out a lot of ingredients on the shelf and put them into the soup pot. The speed of the craftsmanship was completely dazzling. Prepare me sesame oil, ginger green onion. Chinyu reported a series of materials, and both Ryoko and Uchiha Izumi were stunned. In their perception, cooking a meal is not that particular at all. It is good to be able to cook and swallow and fill the stomach. Looking at the confused crowd, Chinyu gave up his thoughts and went to prepare the materials by himself. Outside the Ichiraku ramen, the third Hokage took off his hat and sighed helplessly. After the third battle, he officially retired and handed over the Hokage's position to Namikaze Minato. However, only in his early 50s, he was still in his prime, and he asked himself that he was still very confident in his own combat power. Unfortunately, what happened one after another made him feel really tired physically and mentally. The thought of the nightmare tapir, who had been restrained in one move, and exploded to death, and the charred Danzo, were so painful that they were all smashed into a paste. Lord Hokage, it looks like you are in trouble again. He rolled up the curtain and said, "What kind of miso ramen do you want to eat this time?" 3 generations of Hokage came back to his senses, looked at the menu item, and said helplessly, "Would you like a char-siu ramen? I don't have a good appetite recently. I want to change the taste." No, or, forget it. During this time, the 4 major powers attacked, and they encountered Chinyu who rose like a comet, and Danzo recklessly suppressed them. For 3 generations of Hokage, it was all about exhaustion and loss of appetite. Originally, looking at that greasy miso ramen, and that burnt Danzo. At this moment, it seemed as if 2 heavy flavors had overlapped. Let the 3 generations of Hokage, there is a kind of nausea urge. Dad, I told you Hokage-sama earlier that you will definitely want char-siu ramen. Lord Hokage, this time it's still more than enough. As soon as the words fell, Ayame delivered the char-siu ramen that had been prepared in advance. The turbid sugar water, with a layer of lard floating on it, deliberately added more fatty pork char-siu and floated on it. This made the 3 generations of Hokage smile helplessly. It seems that ramen reservations should have been pushed back from the start. Now, I'm finding it hard to eat myself. However, feeling Ayame's big watery eyes, his face was full of urgency and hope. 3 generations of Hokage smiled helplessly and picked up the chopsticks. Lord Hokage, do you think my ramen is the best? Ayame asked impatiently. Ayame, you are so rude. Shuda hurriedly scolded. Don't take offense, Lord Hokage. This girl just heard that Uchiha Itachi said that Shinyu can make food that can beat Ichiraku ramen, so I feel a little uncomfortable. If you offend Lord Hokage, don't take offense. 3 generations of Hokage couldn't help but startled, then shook his head with a smile and said, I've also heard that that kid can cook, but Ichiraku ramen, in Konoha Shinobi Village, and even the entire Shinobi world are attracted by people, how can that kid be able to compare? Quote. Lord Hokage is right. Ayame couldn't help laughing, and the suffocated anger dissipated instantly. Hee, I always think about things. The 3rd generation of Hokage laughed dryly. However, before the words were finished, a faint and refreshing fragrance dissipated with the wind. The chicken flavor of the clear soup with the medicinal herbs penetrated into the nostrils of people as if it were all-pervasive. The sudden fresh smell made the 3 people present couldn't help but take a deep breath of air. 3 generations of Hokage's fingers twitched involuntarily. This horse is a big move of the index finger. Lord Hokage, Ayame's voice suddenly sounded. Hokage and Handa, who were immersed in the taste of chicken in the clear soup, quickly recovered. It's different from their traditional taste of thick soup as the base. This fragrance has a more elegant fragrance, which is very different. However, when he thought of the gaffe of his index finger and Ayame's gaze, the 3rd generation of Hokage quickly coughed. Cough cough. This fragrance. No, really fragrant. Looking at the incoherent 3 generations of Hokage, Ayame snorted and looked at Ryoko's shop in dissatisfaction. This special scent made him think of that terrifying young man first and foremost. It's impossible, he didn't make it. Ayame shook his head hurriedly and pouted. Dad, are you hiding and making some special dishes? If you do this, it's unkind to not tell me in advance. Looking at Ayame with a serious face, he slapped his face with helplessness. At this juncture, to say such words is undoubtedly rubbing his old face on the ground. However, in the face of the scrutinizing eyes of the 3rd generation of Hokage, Shuda can only shake his head helplessly. No, this is the first time I have smelled this fragrance, which makes people feel a sense of appetite. Chapter 116 The Medicinal Diet of Ichiraku Ramen. The huge ramen shop seemed a little dead. In the face of this increasingly rich taste of fragrant chicken soup, the 3 present couldn't help but glance at each other. There was an inexplicable urgency in the pupils. I am eager to know, where does this smell come from? Cough cough. Why don't we go and have a look? Shuda couldn't help but cough dryly. At this time, not many people will come to patronize it, so let's go to the door. Yes, you can also. Right. 3 generations of Hokage quickly agreed, subconsciously looking at Ayame. Now 2-1, with the 2 in favor, the hammer is also struck. HMPH, just go, I don't believe he can really make something that tastes better than Ichiraku ramen. Ayame snorted coldly, turned around and walked out the door. Looking at this scene, the 3 generations of Hokage couldn't wait to stand up. Especially remember Jiraiya's report. Uchiha Chinyu tamed the 3 tails with the help of food. Lord Hokage, you said that we suddenly visited. If it is empty-handed, I'm afraid I'm a little embarrassed. Shida couldn't help saying. However, in the last sentence, the hand fight did not say it, but the 3rd generation of Hokage was very clear about what to express. If you eat for nothing, you always have to bring some souvenirs to be confident. Here is the ramen I just made, and I usually send some to Ryoko. Seeing that the back of the 3rd generation of Hokage has disappeared into the corner. He couldn't hold his breath with his hands, he took the pulled noodles with him, and quickly followed. Chinyu, why don't you let me buy some noodles? If you wait like this, the child is alive. Liangzi swallowed a mouthful of saliva, noticing his gaffe. Just looking at the pot of chicken soup that exudes an alluring aroma in front of me, I really can't help it. For a hungry person, the greatest sin is the food that can be seen and smelled. You can't get a good taste when you can get it. Especially Uchiha Izumi and Itachi, they were still suspicious a moment ago, but the moment the chicken was soaked in six-fingered peach, and the fragrance of the soup filled the air, they fell directly. Compared to those thick-flavored miso soups, the two are the exact opposite of an ultimate. It gave them the look of a hillbilly who had never seen the world in town. If it wasn't for some self-control, I'm afraid all the yawns would flow out. Izumi, I'm here to play with you. Ayame's voice came from outside. However, as soon as the voice fell, he entered uninvited. Came to Uchiha Izumi's side, he couldn't help but poked his head to look at the soup pot. Ayame, do you smell the fragrant chicken soup? Uchiha Izumi was a little superior. Usually, Ayame also secretly gives Uchiha Izumi the leftover condiments, noodle soup, ramen and other ingredients in the store. It can be said that the change in Uchiha Izumi's expression now is the portrayal of her on weekdays. It's just that the current Ayame obviously doesn't care about this, and hurriedly pinched his nose and said, "What kind of smell is this? It smells bad. It's far worse than the smell of my miso soup." Ayame, who symbolically pinched his nose and sniffed everywhere, with a really fragrant face, Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly. "You're old man, haven't you brought ramen?" Hand-pulled noodle. The three of Leonzi who were present couldn't help but startled, they never thought that Chinyu would make such an idea. "What are you talking about ramen? My dad won't bring." Ayame glared. In her eyes, this soup is very good to be able to take a look at it. If they also bring ramen, it will bring down their identity as Ichiraku ramen. "Ayame, what nonsense are you talking about?" He walked in quickly with his hand behind him, raised his hand and tapped Ayame on the head. Chinyu is really embarrassed. This girl is being petty, she is not usually like this. "This is the ramen I made with my own hands, and some thin slices of beef, I hope you don't laugh at it." After watching Shuta put down a pot of ramen and thinly sliced beef, he stared eagerly at the soup pot behind Chinyu. Ryoko and the others were stunned. "This is really delivered to the door." "Haha, as a qualified chef, you also have the attributes of being a foodie." Chinyu laughed dryly, not surprised at all, and took the ramen directly. "3 generations, since you're here, come in and sit, I don't eat people." "Hee, you are really good at this, kid. I thought you were very talented, but I didn't expect that even your cooking skills were attractive. No wonder Jiraiya and Minato rated you so highly." 3 generations of Hokage rolled the curtain and walked in. The hand on the side was completely unable to hold back his breath, and said, "Chinyu, let me cook this ramen, my craftsmanship is okay." As he spoke, he couldn't help but reach out and grab ramen. "No need, my noodles are not for cooking." Chinyu shook his head. Looking at the steamer that had already been prepared, a lot of water vapor was coming out. "Put the ramen in it directly, sprinkle some water at the same time, and cover it in full view." Steamed noodles. His hands were startled. In his eyes, this is the first time he has encountered such a thing. However, Chinfeng did not answer, and took out a basin of ice water that had been prepared. At the moment when the steam rises rapidly and the noodles are soft, a cold river comes directly. After tossing the spoon a few times, it spilled too much water and went straight to the big bowl. The next moment, I poured the 6-finger peach chicken soup that had already been prepared and had been removed from the grease, and a fragrant chicken soup smell of medicinal herbs completely filled the entire store. Looking at the chicken noodle soup in the clear soup that night, the 3rd-generation Hokage and Shuta took the lead and couldn't help it. They picked up the big bowl and took a sip of the chicken soup. An indescribable fragrance and warmth of medicinal herbs quickly spread in the stomach. "Good soup." Quote. 3 generations of Hokage and Shida shouted in unison. Soon I picked up the noodles in the bowl and couldn't wait to send it to my mouth. At the moment of nibbling with the soup, the tough and dry gluten brings a kiba-like texture. It's completely different from the usual soaked noodles. And with this fragrant chicken soup, compared with the richness of miso, this bowl of chicken noodles in clear soup simply increases the appetite. Good face. Chin-yu, what kind of cooking is this? It's completely beyond my knowledge. His hands were anxious. All this in front of him, let him open up a new world. This is medicinal food, Chin-yu said lightly. He has always had confidence in Washa's cuisine, and even if he is facing Ichiraku ramen, he is capable of overpowering him. Chapter 117 The son-in-law in exchange for a bowl of noodles. Medicine. 3 generations of Hokage and others couldn't help but startled. They have heard of various local delicacies, but this is the first time they have heard of this medicinal diet. The combination of medicinal herbs and food creates a delicacy that regulates the body. This is the medicinal diet, Chin-yu said lightly. It has the functions of conditioning the spleen and nourishing the lungs, removing dampness and relaxing the tendons, and coughing with tuberculosis. However, in the face of Chin-yu's remarks, everyone present was obviously confused. Only his expression changed drastically, and he said anxiously, I understand, this is the principle I have always pursued, saving people with food, and I never thought that the combination of medicinal materials and staple food could be so delicious. Just, where did the chicken go? Shredded chicken. Chin-yu turned around and brought out a pot of shredded chicken. Chili oil, with special ginger spice, as well as the aroma of vanilla and 5-fingered peach, gathered together and filled the air, making the sound of swallowing saliva sound in the field. 3 generations of Hokage and hand play. Uchiha Itachi and others haven't had a chance to taste it yet, but looking at the chicken soup ramen and shredded chicken in front of them, their appetites have increased greatly. If it weren't for the existence of Chin-yu and the 3rd generation of Hokage, I'm afraid it would have been violent. Eat, everyone is hungry. Chin-yu looked at Ayame, who was struggling with Duzui, and said, you don't eat, but it's not your turn. Don't eat it. Ayame shook his head stubbornly and said, this thing is terrible. I won't eat it. Ayame must not be rude. Hands shouted in a hurry. However, the voice just fell, and a shouting voice came quickly in the distance. Boss, you're not a brother enough. You didn't say yes earlier, you cook for me, and I kill you, like a knife that sees blood. A black shadow came galloping from a distance, and the speed was so fast that it spanned dozens of meters in the blink of an eye, and landed in front of Ayame first. Looking at the chicken soup ramen, his eyes widened, full of urgency. Boss, she doesn't eat it, I eat it. Well, good soup. Wow, good face, grandmas, it's not good for you to hide from me, boss. If I hadn't woken up earlier, it would have felt like I missed 100 million. Erha, even the 3rd generation of Hokage was stunned. Lord Hokage, what is this? Handa couldn't help but asked. 3 generations of Hokage coughed dryly. This seems. How to say, it's a reduced version of the tailed beast. Killing people in the face of a meal is still the kind of blood that sees blood. 3 generations of Hokage simply do not know how to explain. The integrity of this tailed beast is probably really lost, completely subverting everyone's cognition. The tailed beast of the human Jinchuriki column force weapon. Hand beat stunned. Looking at Mitsuha, who was completely bent over by the food. He finally knew how great the charm of food was. Itachi, this noodle is delicious, you're right, it's much better than Ichiraku ramen. Uchiha Izumi hurriedly picked up his ramen. Seeing the 3 tails who were eating the bowl and staring at the thief, waiting for an opportunity to attack. This made their nerves tense. It was delicious. This chicken soup, what other shredded chicken? Chin-yu, this herbal meal. It's really surprising. It can regulate a person's body, and its achievements are enough to be compared with the great deeds of Master Tsunade's research on medical ninjutsu. Ryoko and the others were incoherent while eating. In the huge dining room, the 5 people and 1 beast simply devoured it, especially the 3-tailed, Chirp, Chirp, and Echo. Only the stubborn Ayame pursed his lips and looked at the scene in front of him. His eyes were full of Yuhi. If everyone else said it was unpalatable, she would be in a better mood. But now even the father has fallen, and even the tailed beast has thrown away the morality. This undoubtedly magnifies the temptation of medicinal diets infinitely. Thinking of the ignorant competition just now, the small grievance in my heart was directly magnified infinitely, and hot tears rolled in my eyes. Eat it, it's your portion. Bowl of ramen was laid flat in front of Ayame, making him startled. Looking up at Chinyu, the tears in Ayame's eyes rolled out of the corners of his eyes without any money. Yes, Ayame said aggrievedly. However, before the words were finished, Chinyu gently wiped away his tears and said, "Don't say sorry, as a man, but you don't want to be sorry by a woman. Hurry up and eat the noodles, otherwise this idiot will be hard-hearted." Robbed. Chinyu used the head of his chopsticks and threw the claw that the thief had probed over. Suddenly, there was a sound of wolf cries and howls in the dining room. The big eyes were staring, and tears were flowing, giving people a miserable feeling. "Don't put it on for me, there's still it in there, go and bring it out yourself." Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly. Looking at this dignified tailed beast, it was reduced to a meal, and it was sold in misery. Even the 3 generations of Hokage suspect that he is dreaming. This world has simply changed. However, compared with the 3 generations of Hokage, Shand looked at the usual carefree and grumpy Ayame. Now his eyes are tender and shy, and he sometimes peeks at Chinyu with a tender look. Let the hand hit an inexplicable illusion. His precious daughter, Tama, was deceived by a bowl of ramen. A bowl of noodles in exchange for a son-in-law. The time for a meal quickly passed in the snatch. 3rd generation of Hokage put on the Hokage hat and was very surprised to see the excited hands. "Chinyu, did you really give me the recipe for this medicine?" Handa grabbed Chinyu's hand and was so excited that he almost fainted. Completely forgot the idea of escaping the tiger's mouth with Ayame just now. It can be said that there are 100,000 willing to let the hand beat the son-in-law now. "It's Washa medicinal food," Chinyu emphasized again. When he was on Earth, his parents ran pharmacy and gourmet restaurants. Now that we are in the world of Hokage, how can we promote the Chinese cuisine? So it was written down directly. Yes, this is Washa medicinal diet, this is simply the work of the gods. Handa couldn't wait to flip through the medicinal diet recipe in his hand. Looking at the various delicacies above, I was so excited that I fainted. Ayame and Uchiha Itachi hurriedly stepped forward to help them up. Seeing the excited hand beating and chanting words in his mouth, Ayame said embarrassedly, "Brother Yu, I will take my father back first. Your kindness, I will definitely pay it back in the future." "I don't need it. If you want to make a promise, I can't refuse." Chinyu reached out and rubbed Ayame's hair. This kind of intimacy immediately made Ayame's cheeks pierce Yuhi, and he couldn't help but bow his head. That mosquito-like, was not heard by many people. Facing the scene in front of him, the 3 generations of Hokage hesitated for a moment, then said, "Chinyu, I have a task in my hand that I want to delegate to you." Chapter 118 Danzo's Final Plan. Task. Chinyu raised his brows. On the cusp of such a storm, Chinyu was an unstable factor for the entire Konoha village. Now the 3rd generation of Hokage even delegated tasks to him. This is probably something abnormal. "Yes, I think this task is the most suitable for you." The 3 generations of Hokage laughed dryly, come to the Hokage building tomorrow morning to find me, and I will tell you the details of the task. I'd love to know, though, why didn't you kill Danzo today? The voice fell, and the atmosphere in the field suddenly increased a little dignified. Ryoko and others don't know what happened for the time being, but they are very clear about Danzo's name. Now that the 3 generations of Hokage have broken this kind of thing in public, the meaning is different. If you don't kill him, maybe it's useful to keep it. Chinyu smiled genially. It's like the 3 generations of Hokage who tolerate Danzo, don't they have ideas? The 3 generations of Hokage were stunned at first, then shook their head and said, "You think too much, I'm just a moderate, and I don't want to let the contradictions get out of hand. Remember to come find me at the Hokage building tomorrow, and thank you for your hospitality today. This herbal meal is really different." These words, the 3rd generation Hokage raised his hand, turned and left. "Brother, do you accept this mission?" Seeing the 3 generations of Hokage go away, Uchiha Itachi couldn't help asking. Facing this kind of task issued by Hokage himself, it is extremely dangerous. Now Chinyu's existence is very embarrassing in Konoha Ninja Village. Case the 3rd generation of Hokage specially delegated some dangerous tasks, such as letting Chinyu go deep into the enemy alone. Perhaps to assassinate some powerful country, this is completely the Longtan Tiger's den. Even if Chinyu really had a strong self-protection ability, such a task with ulterior motives would seem too much. Don't worry, I'm also idle, I hope there is something to pass the time, not to mention that the 3rd generation of Hokage is not an idiot. Chinyu patted Itachi on the shoulder, turned and left. "Boss, wait for me, I just smelled the fox smell of Kyubi, 9 tails, do you want to show me?" 3 tails fell on Chinyu's shoulders. "Don't go." Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, "You are afraid that you won't be able to fight, so you came to me to help rescue you, right?" "No, boss, don't wrong me, God is a lesson, I don't have such thoughts." Mitsuha raised his fingers and swore. It seems that during this period of time, it has learned a lot in human society. On the other hand, in Konoha Hospital, the large army of medical ninjas had fallen out. Jiraiya stood outside the door with a solemn expression. Looking at the blonde woman who was half leaning against the wall, drinking wine, she fell into silence. "Jiraiya, you haven't told me what happened." Tsunade wiped the drink from the corner of his mouth and said drunkenly, "Who is so bold and hurt an old stubborn Danzo? This kind of burn area can easily be life-threatening." This time, Tsunade came back to worship Matsuri who died not long ago. "I just didn't expect that at the juncture, I would encounter such an unexpected event and be forcibly invited to the Konoha hospital. Although, the current Tsunade already has hyperphobia, but in the huge ninja world, her extensive medical knowledge is still unmatched by anyone else." "Are you hungry too?" Jiraiya sighed. "Let's go to Ichiraku Ramen and sit and chat." During this time, a monster has appeared in the village, and it has reached an uncontrollable level, so I hope you can stay here. "Stay in the village." Monster. Tsunade's expression became stagnant, and the feeling of drinking disappeared. As the object of Jiraiya's unrequited love, after learning sage art, Jiraiya must show off in front of Tsunade. In the eyes of the outside world, Sanin's strength is neck and neck. But Tsunade knew very well that if Sanin wanted to choose the strongest, it would be Jiraiya. Now in the village, there are teachers and your precious apprentice Namikaze Minato. Could it be that we can't deal with it together? Tsunade frowned and followed Jiraiya away. However, as soon as Jiraiya and Tsunade left, a shadow like a ghost flashed into the ward where the operation had just been performed. The light of incandescent lamps is a bit dazzling. Danzo, who was lying on the hospital bed as if he was bandaged into a mummy, opened his eyes. "You're finally here. Why did the mission fail?" I gave you the Impure World Reincarnation Scroll and the second-generation Hokage cells in order for you to win. Danzo's voice was very hoarse. However, there didn't seem to be much pain on his face. Hehe, I'm fortunate to have you fused with the first-generation cells in advance. If you lack the strong recovery ability, I'm afraid you will die. Orochimaru stuck out Yuhi's tongue, but his face was extremely pale. Danzo intact, but immortality reincarnated, making his current strength less than 10 or 3. If it weren't for the partnership with Danzo, Yamanaka Wind urgently asked for help, and Orochimaru would not take such a big risk and enter the Konoha shinobi village again. HMPH, if you gave me that thing earlier this time, I would have killed that kid already. Danzo's expression became hideous. You didn't see that kid's arrogant appearance, as if he had my life and death master in hand, making me almost unable to disguise. Danzo, who has always been wily, would behave so rudely. Orochimaru's expression sank, and a rare solemn expression appeared on his face. Danzo, I forgot to tell you something important. That kid learned sage art. From the very beginning, after learning that Jiraiya is interested in sending Chinyu to study sage art, Orochimaru decided to deal with Chinyu before that. Sage art, which has always been hailed as more difficult than ninjutsu, would be so easily learned by Chinyu. This time before and after, but not half a day. Are you telling the truth? Danzo's expression changed drastically. It's a monster. If he really learned sage art completely in such a short period of time, it will be too variable for our future plans. In Jiraiya, before we get the information on Mount Myoboku, we can only implement the final plan first. Even if Konoha Shinobi Village is caught in the war again, we must eradicate that kid as soon as possible. Having said that, Danzo looked to the corner of the room. A young figure flashed out instantly and said, Lord Danzo, I have brought the scroll you asked me to prepare. Okay, as expected of the trump card I hid. I originally planned to let you grow up a little more and have more combat experience before I let you out, but the death of the root has left me with not many generals, so I have to work hard for you. I'm done. Danzo looked at the young man in front of him with a satisfied look on his face. Orochimaru followed the sound, and his eyes lit up quickly. Danzo, is that the kid? I didn't expect that plan, but it really succeeded, and it made you a bargain. No wonder you were able to combine with the first-generation cells so quickly. It seems that this kid has a lot of credit. Chapter 119 The Terrifying Medicinal Diet. Hehe, if you hadn't given up this child early, I wouldn't have gotten the successor of the original Mokuden, wood-style ninjutsu. Danzo struggled to sit up and laughed. This is my last trump card, the arm I want, have you brought it? Danzo untied the bandages on his body, except for some burn scars, there were no other serious injuries. Don't worry, I've already brought what you asked for. If I wasn't too careless last time and let that kid benefit, I wouldn't have lost so fast. Orochimaru took out a scroll, a look of grimness flashed across his face. Thinking about it, the dignified Sannin was instantly defeated after owning Impure World Reincarnation. This is downright shame. Don't worry, as long as the plan is unfolded, that kid will be attacked on both sides. No matter how strong a person is, how strong can he be? Danzo took the scroll and laughed horribly. For this arm, he spent a lot of effort and killed many Uchiha people. It is even proposed that in this time against the village of Kurigakure, the Uchiha people, who have always been excluded, will be sent to the battlefield. Only regret is not getting Uchiha Shisui's eyes. Okay, let's start the operation now, let this kid start the plan. Orochimaru glanced at Tianzang and said, your body is starting to merge with the cells of the first generation, but to a certain extent, there are still certain exclusion. So, it will take a while. Outside the Ichiraku ramen, Jiraiya and Tsunade walked slowly. Tsunade, who was still smelling of alcohol, frowned and looked a little absent-minded. If that kid appeared on the battlefield earlier, wouldn't he have to go to the battlefield and die? A ridiculous thought flashed through Tsunade's mind. As a ninja, the strongest means is still limited to the attack at the level of spiritual power. Once you get close and you can't fight back in time, there is only a dead end. If this Chinyu did not lie dormant, he would go to the battlefield earlier. With the blood-colored Asura, Konoha Yellow Flash's prestige may not die at all. Thinking of this, Tsunade couldn't help clenching his fists. Tsunade, did you listen to me? That kid is so strong. If he can be used by the Konoha Ninja Village, it will definitely increase the strength of the village to a new level, and maybe even end the war in the entire ninja world. Jiraiya looked back, glancing at Tsunade. Tsunade regained his senses, stared at Jiraiya and said, "You're not going to make Uchiha's kid a Hokage, are you? That kid's character is unruly, so what if he has great strength? For the huge ninja world, the biggest contribution is medical ninjutsu. Only by developing medical ninjutsu to ultimate can you become a Hokage, which is an existence useful to the village. Just a little bit of strength, could it be that I and you can't be Hokage?" After listening to this, the voice became hysterical at the end. It seemed a little vexatious, but Jiraiya knew very well that Tsunade thought of breaking up again. In the Second Ninja World War, due to the lack of medical ninjas, Naoki could not be treated in time, and finally fell on the battlefield. Afterwards, Tsunade advocated that she should make every effort to develop medical ninjutsu, and she even became the first person in the ninja world medical ninjutsu. Unfortunately, the Third Ninja War, the Battle of Kikyoyama just broke out, and Duan also died in front of Tsunade. Even medical ninjutsu is completely useless. Eventually Tsunade gets a hyperphobia and leaves the Konoha shinobi village. If I didn't come back to worship Matsuri Naoki, I heard from Jiraiya that such a big thing happened, and even Danzo dared to do it, I'm afraid they wouldn't stay longer. It smells so good, could it be that some new ramen has been made by hand? Jiraiya sniffed fiercely, feeling the fresh smell in the air, and walked up quickly. Lord Jiraiya, and Lord Tsunade. He was startled at first, and then his face showed surprise. You guys came just in time. I discovered this huge secret about medicated food. You guys hurry up and try this soup chicken noodle. Medicated secrets. Jiraiya couldn't help but startled. But for Tsunade, those words meant something different. Medicine is related to medical ninjutsu and can be mixed with food. The meaning is completely different. Two adults, don't stand here, hurry up and try it first. Hand beat the 2 bowls of noodles. Looking at the clear noodle soup and the wafting fragrance, Jiraiya couldn't help but pick up the chopsticks first. Tsunade with the help of booze is no exception. A mouthful of noodles, a mouthful of chicken soup. In an instant, the pupils of the two suddenly contracted, and after looking at each other, they swallowed. Tsunade and Jiraiya let out a contented burp when the last sip of chicken soup was exhausted. Is this soup made of peaches? Tsunade, as the leader of the medical ninja, instantly burst out. Looking at the ramen bowl that was not left, he slapped his face and said proudly, "Yes, the teacher said that this is a 5-fingered peach, which can strengthen your body, but I found out that the teacher is hiding some key secrets. After I woke up just now, I found that the amount of chakra in my body has increased a little, and the flow speed has become a little faster. If you don't believe me, you can check your body. If an ordinary person takes medicated food reasonably, he will definitely be able to strengthen his body and prevent all diseases. If a ninja takes it, I am afraid that it can enhance the control of chakra, the speed of production, etc." Chang's voice echoed in the ramen shop. Jiraiya and Tsunade were stunned, and they spoke with suspicion. But the best way to verify right now is to visit your body for changes. The two of them glanced at each other at the same time, and then they started the perception-type ninjutsu and probed the body. Tsunade in particular, as a medical ninja, also has precise manipulation of chakra. Changes in the perception of the body are even as subtle as the cells. 7 or 8 minutes later, Tsunade and Jiraiya opened their eyes instantly, their faces filled with disbelief. The change in the body from the bowl of medicinal food just now was only a trace. But as Handa said, long-term conditioning will definitely make a ninja's starting line surpass his peers. Perhaps this method is difficult to achieve in a short period of time. However, it has far-reaching effects on the rise of a village. After 10 or 8 years, the strength and physical quality of the new generation can definitely be improved to a higher level. Thinking of this, Tsunade found the medicated meal so terrifying. Chapter 120, Putting it in the Forbidden Technique. Tsunade. Jiraiya's voice also became solemn. If medical ninjutsu is to save lives and wounds, then this medicinal diet is transformation. Let ordinary people, ninjas, and even the strength of the village undergo qualitative changes. For a village, compared with medical ninjutsu, medicated meals are even more profound. Jiraiya, you don't need to tell me, I also know the horror of this herbal diet, don't forget that my mother is a medical ninja. Tsunade said in a deep voice. For the first time since her death, she became interested in something. In particular, the researcher behind the medicinal diet is also a teacher in the mouth. This thing must not be rumored. Jiraiya nodded cautiously and looked at the hand. Shand, we want to meet your teacher. The person who can develop this medicinal diet is very important to the rise of Konoha. Jiraiya, let's go there in person. We can research the medicinal diet so that the food and medicinal materials can be perfectly matched. It should be an elderly man. We can see the sincerity of Konoha by going there in person. Tsunade said suddenly. Facing this alternative medical approach, she is really interested. Jiraiya heard the words and nodded in agreement. I reported this to the teacher in advance. You can't show this medicinal food with your hands for the time being. For the development and safety of Konoha, you have a heavy responsibility. Ha ha. Suddenly burst out laughing, making Tsunade and Jiraiya dazed as well. I knew you guys would look like this. In fact, when the teacher was cooking the herbal meal, Master Hokage was also there. And, do you think that I alone can discover the beauty of this herbal diet? This is entirely due to Hokage-sama. Having said that, the third generation of Hokage walked out of the back kitchen of the store, holding the medicinal recipe given by Chinyu in his hand. Tsunade hurried up and snatched the recipe away, and the shock on his face grew thicker as he flipped through it. Teacher, who came up with the recipe for this medicinal diet, I want to visit him in person. For Tsunade, it's not difficult to mix herbs and staples. The difficulty lies in how to make the taste and medicinal properties of this herbal meal into the ultimate and become a delicacy in the world. Haha, it's rare that even Tsunade is interested. That old man is no longer in business. The third generation Hokage laughed dryly and said, this medicinal meal is actually something from Uchiha Chinyu. The small voice seemed to be infused with a magical sound at this moment, causing Tsunade and Jiraiya to be stunned in place. In their eyes, even Handbeat is also called a teacher. To be able to develop something as far-reaching as medicated food, it should be the old Shinzen who is immersed in food. Now I actually told them that this heaven-defying recipe actually came from the hands of a teenager. This is too shocking. I knew for a long time that you didn't believe me. 3 generations of Hokage laughed helplessly. I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen him cook, and if I scribbled the recipes alone and gave them to the hands at random. Tsunade was silent. The moment before, she had accused Chinyu of not being qualified to act as Hokage. But now with the combination of strength and contribution, looking around the entire ninja world, I am afraid that only a few people can compare with it. Teacher, I want to meet Chinyu, Tsunade said after a moment of hesitation. Jiraiya's expression froze, looking a little surprised. At first Tsunade was very picky about Chinyu and didn't take it seriously at all. The current performance has subverted Jiraiya's cognition. I know what you think, but now that you are on the cusp of the storm, you should not meet him for the time being. I have already arranged a task for him, and there should be results soon. 3 generations of Hokage said. Tsunade's expression changed slightly, but he finally nodded in agreement. Then let me study the dietary recipe of this medicine first. He said that Tsunade had already taken the medicine recipe and turned to the Ichiraku ramen kitchen in fascination. Seeing this scene, the 3rd generation Hokage smiled helplessly and gave his hands an apologetic look. Jiraiya, isn't there any information on Mount Myoboku yet? 3 generations of Hokage's eyes turned in vain. In Chinyu's heart whether he has learned sage art. Not yet, that group of toads are doing business. Unless the big toad immortal feels a sense of it, they will rarely take the initiative to see it. Jiraiya was helpless. Of course he can reverse channel into Mount Myoboku. It's just that at this juncture, he can't leave casually, and can only wait for news here. Alright then, I hope Danzo can stay calm after this toss. I suspect that Chinyu is keeping his life. I'm afraid he has some thoughts behind his back. The 3rd generation Hokage sighed faintly. Okay, I'll leave it to you and Tsunade to deal with this medicine's dietary recipe for the time being. I've included it in the forbidden technique, so I can't just spread it out. I'll go back first and arrange tomorrow's tasks. There are so many headaches these days. These words, the 3 generations of Hokage slowly left. Jiraiya is not surprised that medicated diet is included in the forbidden technique. After all, this is a means to raise the strength of the entire village, and even the ninja world, to a level. Of course, if Chinyu knew that his unintentional actions would cause such a big shock, it was absolutely unexpected. The world of Hokage is obviously different from Earth. The natural power of heaven and earth has changed the medicinal materials, and it contains a trace of the power of heaven and earth, which will make the effect of medicinal diet infinitely magnified. Silent all night. Konoha Shinobi Village like broken gold. Chinyu stretched his waist and pushed open the door. During this time, he lived in Uchiha Fugaku's house. Although it is convenient in name, Chinyu knows that this is Uchiha Fugaku, and he is worried that something big will happen to him. Xiaoyu, you got up really early. Itachi went to school early for the first time in the past. I hope this time, I won't use Shadow Clone to perfunctory things again. Uchiha Makoto put breakfast on the table and said with a smile. I heard that today, it seems to be the senior graduation exam. She had heard of what happened yesterday. But as a virtuous domestic helper, she knows exactly what to ask and what not to. Thank you, Auntie. Chinyu took the breakfast and replied politely. As soon as he picked up the bread, he saw a dark shadow fall in the courtyard. Chinyu, I'm Anbu under Lord Hokage. This is your task scroll for today. Anbu's ninja, after handing the scroll to Chinyu, disappeared again. Uchiha Fugaku was obviously startled by the sudden arrival of Anbu. Seeing that he was just here to deliver the mission, he could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. During this period of time, because of Chinyu's affairs, any wind and grass made Uchiha Fugaku almost startled with a heart attack.